Chapter 363. Within the myriad mountain realm, the wind mountain plains. Unlin was flying through the sky on Dog's steed, and he was greeted by the sight of a series of tall mountains that pierced straight into the clouds. Big Brotherin, are there really sexy and beautiful women in there, woof? Dabai asked with a hint of disbelief. Unlin replied with a serious expression, It's true, that's the princess who's been imprisoned in the dark castle, waiting for a true warrior to rescue her. Dog riding warrior, woof. Dabai was very fond of this type of scene and barked excitedly. In contrast to Dabai's excitement, Xiao Chou and Xiao Hong were a little dispirited. Xiao Chou was here mainly because he couldn't enter the castle, so he was here purely to relieve his boredom. Meanwhile, Xiao Hong was lying peacefully in Unlin's pocket, living as if she were dead. At the foot of a tall mountain that pierced straight into the heavens, the White Cloud Lake was surging. Unlin arrived above the White Cloud Lake and yelled, Senior Jiang Anlin, are you there? His voice was like a clap of thunder exploding over the surface of the lake. Anyone who wasn't deaf would be able to hear him. Xiao Chou was a little perplexed. Shouldn't summoning Senior Jiang Anlin involve capturing a rainbow cow first? Unlin smiled lightly. What kind of relationship do I have with him? Is there a need for such formalities? Boom! A huge splash erupted from the surface of the lake, and a horned dragon over 100 feet in length with azure scales appeared before Unlin with a majestic aura. Unlin, it's you? The horned dragon was also slightly taken aback by the sight of Unlin. He had a very deep impression of this young man. After all, this was the man who had once emptied his treasure vault, so it was impossible for him not to have a deep impression of him. Haha, Senior Jiang Anlin, how have you been? Unlin greeted him with a joyful expression. Long time no see, Unlin, what business do you have here? Jiang Anlin didn't think that Unlin had come here because he missed him. Oh, Senior, I'm here to explore the ruins of the White Cloud Lake. Unlin cut straight to the point. Jiang Anlin's lips twitched upon hearing this. Again? Weren't you chased out by the mainframe? Hee, that was me in the past. Now I'm no longer who I used to be. Unlin smiled confidently. His eyes were burning with fighting spirit. That's right, he was already a powerful being of the spirit-nurturing final stage, and he possessed all kinds of exceptional divine abilities. The Purple Star Ruins were scary? No such thing exists. Only cultivators below the soul formation stage were allowed to enter the ruins. Unlin didn't choose to break through to the soul formation stage so that he could sweep through the entire Purple Star Ruins. If even he could not wipe out the 88th Purple Star Research Institute, then it was even more impossible for others to do so. He didn't know if there were any spirit-nurturing stage cultivators more powerful than Unlin. In any case, he hadn't seen any. Alright, I can't be bothered with you. Jiang Anlin didn't say anything else upon seeing Unlin's high-spirited expression. Instead, he looked at Unlin's hands with his yellow eyes. Where's the rainbow cow? Haha, rainbow cows are very hard to find. We're old friends, what's there to talk about? Unlin laughed heartily with a friendly expression. The horned dragon grimaced. He didn't move and didn't say anything else. A deathly silence ensued. The atmosphere was extremely awkward. Dabai did his best to stifle his laughter. Was this the old friend Big Brother and was talking about? Why did he look like an old enemy? Unlin's chest constricted. Why was this stupid dragon so disrespectful? A pained expression appeared on his face as he brought out 10 dazzling white vital stones from his storage ring. Haha, Brother Jiang, I know you might not be interested in these mundane items. Jiang Anlin raised an eyebrow at the sight of the vital stones in Unlin's hand, as if he had something to say. At this moment Unlin continued, but I'm a very shallow person. I don't have much other than money. It's rare to see an old friend, so these are a small token of my appreciation. I hope you'll accept it. He stuffed the 10 vital stones into Jiang Anlin's hand as he spoke. Jiang Anlin's expression changed drastically as he held the vital stones. Oh my, look at you, brotherin. I didn't have to go through so much trouble to see you in the future. Immediately afterward, the horned dragon transformed into the appearance of a middle-aged man and happily stowed the vital stones into his storage ring. The two of them began to converse happily, as if they were old friends who hadn't seen each other in a long time. Dubai's mouth gaped open as he stared blankly at the scene before him. It was as if a door had been opened in his heart. Brotherin, I won't disturb you any longer since you have business to attend to. Remember to be careful, and I wish you all the best in the ruins. Jiang Anlin parted the surface of the lake and opened the metal gate before bidding farewell to Anlin. All right, we'll meet again in a while. Anlin waved goodbye to Jiang Anlin before turning to Xiao Chou. Xiao Chou, you stay outside and be on guard. Xiao Chou had reached the soul formation stage and was unable to pass through the restriction to enter the Purple Star ruins. Saying this, Anlin rode Dubai through the blue barrier of light and entered the ruins. Did Anlin feel bad about exchanging 10 vital stones for an entry pass? Not at all. Because he was going to get this money back from Lin Junjun tenfold, 100-fold. At the summit of the Cloud Mountain, a beautiful woman was staring blankly at a piece of white paper on a drawing board. Achoo! The woman sneezed for no apparent reason. What's going on? Is someone missing me? Is it my big sisters or my father? The woman thought about it for a moment before shaking her head with a smile. She continued to stare blankly at the white paper on the drawing board. She had drawn many things, beautiful scenery, vibrant life, as well as a series of unforgettable scenes, as well as a series of images that she had created in her mind, but now, she suddenly didn't want to draw anything. She couldn't draw anything. Tired of drawing? Out of inspiration? She didn't know. Right at this moment, a voice transmission talisman suddenly sounded. Master Tianyu, there are cultivators exploring the ruins of the 88th Purple Star Research Institute again. Jiang Anlin's voice sounded from the voice transmission talisman. Oh! Lin Junjun's expression was completely devoid of interest. Ever since the experiment had progressed to the third step, the information regarding the Purple Star inheritance was no longer as urgent. Master Tianyu, aren't you curious who's exploring the ruins? Is that important? Regardless of whether it's a black cat or a white cat, it's a good cat if it can catch a mouse. If it succeeds, then bring them here to receive their reward. Lin Junjun was just about to close the voice transmission talisman. However, the voice transmission talisman caused her to falter in her movement. It's Mr. Anlin going to the ruins, Jiang Anlin replied. What? Anlin? Lin Junjun's hand trembled as her expression also shifted drastically. At this moment, within the Purple Star Research Institute, Dubai passed through the blue barrier of light and was extremely shocked by the scene within. Holy F***ck. What kind of F***king ruins are these? Within the cavernous hall, the metallic floor was pristine, and there were many intricate sculptures placed all around, presenting a sense of beauty that was a combination of technology and antiquity. My God, isn't that Gundam 1 and Gundam 2? Dubai yelled again. Shoo! Don't make such a big fuss. Anlin patted Dubai's head as he tiptoed toward the hovering mechanical creations. These were technological creations of the Purple Star civilization that had been infused with the power of the bloodline of 100 beasts, Anlin chuckled. Before he was sent flying last time, he only had time to steal 2 Gundams. Now there were only 3 Gundams left. After witnessing the practicality of the Gundams, how could he let them go? He whistled as vital energy gathered at his fingertip. Following the information in his mind, he began to carve out complex veined patterns and formations to open up the spatial barrier. Big Brotherin! Dubai's voice suddenly sounded from behind Anlin. Shut up, can't you see I'm busy? Anlin retorted impatiently. But Big Brotherin, you, Tisk, stop interrupting me after I'm done with this. Time is of the essence. If we're discovered by the tigress inside, we're all screwed. But big brotherin, if the tigress you're referring to is this beauty, then we're already screwed. What? Are you crazy? Unlin turned to glare at Dabai, only to find a woman in a flowing white dress looking at him with a dainty smile. Chapter 364. Gulp. Unlin involuntarily swallowed. The woman before him wore a white dress and was tall and slender with smooth skin. She was looking at Unlin with a mysterious smile on her face. Hi, Bai Ling, long time no see. A smile appeared on Unlin's face as he took the initiative to greet her. This woman was the clone of the mastermind of the Research Institute, and she was also the one who had kicked Unlin and the others out of the Research Institute. What are you doing? Bai Ling asked with a hint of a smile on her face. Unlin was drenched in cold sweat, and his mind spun rapidly as he replied, I obtained a method to maintain these technological products, and I want to try it here. Bai Ling's brows perked up. Do you think I'm an idiot? Big sister Bai, I want. Unlin didn't try to quibble anymore as he stared at the woman before him with a sincere and imploring expression. Bai Ling's lips twitched slightly. Why had this guy's moral integrity become more and more shameless after 2 years? I'll definitely make the purple star technology flourish, so just give it to me. Or, what do you want, big sister Bai? Unlin continued to act cute. Bai Ling massaged her brows. I still haven't settled the score with you for those 2 mechanical bloodline creations. Unlin took a couple of steps back upon hearing this. But you're here for the inheritance, right? I won't make things difficult for you. If you can pass all of the trials in the ruins with a survival rate of less than 20%, then the mechanical creations and inheritance information will all belong to you. Bai Ling continued. Unlin's eyes lit up upon hearing this, and his breathing accelerated. All right, it's a deal. All mechanical creations were extremely powerful, and the inheritance information wasn't just knowledge, it was also valuable spirit stones. Just half of the inheritance information was enough to make Unlin instantly rich. If he could get another half. Bai Ling also had a plan in mind. Ever since Unlin and the others had left, another group of cultivators had come to the ruins in the past 2 years. However, they were all annihilated after just 1 trial, leaving her extremely disappointed. A good candidate like Unlin was very rare, and it might not even appear in the next few thousand years. Since that was the case, it was better to give him a chance and see if he had the life to obtain this great opportunity. Next, I will adjust the positions of the 64 secret chambers in the ruins. After you enter, the trial will also become more difficult. You can only advance, not retreat. Of course, if you're so scared that you can't even walk, then you can cry and beg me to let you out. Seeing as we're good friends, I'll let you off the hook a little, got it? Bai Ling winked at Unlin with a seductive smile on her face. Unlin smiled faintly. In my life dictionary, the words retreat and beg for mercy do not exist. Unless he was extremely ferocious. He added in his mind. All right, I wish you good luck. Bai Ling transformed into specks of white light before disappearing on the spot. Unlin looked at Bai Ling's disappearing figure before turning to look at the half-completed formation in the Gundam and gulping. He repressed the urge to continue robbing her and turned to Dabai. Let's go and save the beautiful princess. Dabai looked at Unlin with a cold expression as if it had been deceived. The princess you're talking about is that big sister Bai? Woof. No, of course not her. She's the witch who imprisoned the princess. Unlin replied with a serious expression. Dabai heaved an internal sigh of relief upon hearing this. The woman in the white dress was very beautiful, but her aura was so powerful that she didn't seem like someone who needed saving at all. Not only that, but she also gave him a sense of danger. Unlin also felt a chill run down his spine after saying this, and he couldn't help but shudder. He led Dabai into an inky black passageway and continued onward until a black metal gate appeared at the end of the passageway. He pushed open the gate with force to find an extremely spacious chamber with a green pond at the center. The pond was bubbling incessantly, and a corrosive smell permeated the entire space. Welcome to the trial of poison. According to past trial takers, the survival rate for this trial is 12%. If you successfully pass this trial, you will receive the inheritance of life force. Do you wish to begin the trial now? Bai Ling's emotionless and slightly mechanical voice suddenly sounded. Yes, Lin replied in an indifferent voice after hearing the introduction. Ripples suddenly began to appear in the green pond as his voice fell. A green humanoid monster with tentacles on its head slowly rose into the air. It opened its mouth with sharp fangs and slowly exhaled a sinister, corrosive aura. So it really is the antagonist. It looks like a demon king wolf. Bai raised his tail and equipped his chaotic sky-crushing claws with both hands as he spoke in a majestic manner. Demon King Piccolo. Lin nodded. It's a pity Xiao Chou isn't here. Roar. The green humanoid monster clenched its fists, and the green pond water soared into the sky before transforming into a series of green pythons that pounced toward Lin with an extremely poisonous and corrosive aura. Lin took a step forward and disappeared on the spot. The pythons crashed toward his original location with ferocious force before exploding into a cloud of poisonous mist. Right at this moment, 10 blue saber projections tore through the poisonous mist and slashed toward the green humanoid monster's body. The green humanoid monster was also very fast, and its body shot out of the pond like a cannonball before twisting its body to evade the 10 saber projections. Crimson God Arrow. A scorching wave of energy swept toward Lin. Before Lin knew it, he had already appeared behind the green humanoid monster. Crimson wings materialized into an arrow imbued with extremely fearsome flame power before shooting forth with a whoosh. The Crimson God arrow left a scorching red trail in its wake before puncturing the green humanoid monster's chest. The green humanoid monster let loose an enraged roar before turning around and unleashing a fist toward Lin. As its arms wriggled, the projection of a green skull appeared on its fist before biting toward Lin. You dare to fight with your fists? Lin unleashed a mountain-quaking fist without any hesitation. The massive golden fist clashed with the green skull fist, and the resulting explosion of energy swept through the surroundings in a frenzy. Right at this moment, Bai had already arrived in front of the green humanoid monster, and his chaotic sky-crushing claws slashed toward the monster's head. Everything happened far too quickly. Lin and Bai's attacks were extremely well coordinated, and the green humanoid monster had no time to evade Bai's claws. A blue saber projection flashed by, and the green humanoid monster's body was sliced into several pieces like butter, splat. Green blood spurted forth, and both Lin and Bai hurriedly retreated with expressions of disgust and disgust. Congratulations, you've passed the trial of poison. Bai Ling reappeared before Lin in her white dress. Lin shook his head with a resigned expression. This is the trial with a 12% survival rate? It's not that impressive. Bai Ling glanced at Lin. What's the point of flexing to me like this? Let me ask you, how many more trials are there? Lin asked curiously. Hee, I'm not telling you. A mysterious smile appeared on Bai Ling's face. But there's a surprise waiting for you. Oh, right, I'll save those inheritances for you for now. I'll give them to you after you've completely conquered this set of ruins. Otherwise, if you die during the trial, I'll be wasting my energy, Bai Ling continued. All right, I don't care about your inheritances. Lin waved a hand before continuing toward the next gate. Bai Ling's chest constricted upon hearing this. You! She gritted her teeth in rage as she stared at Lin's departing figure. However, he didn't even look back as he continued on to the second trial. Chapter 365. Welcome to the machine trial. Defeat 3 beast-type machines to pass the trial. According to past trial takers, the survival rate for this trial is 5%. Passing this trial will grant you the mechanical engineering inheritance. Do you wish to begin the trial now? Bai Ling's cold voice sounded in the room again. Lin rolled his eyes at the mention of mechanical engineering. Was this inheritance trying to make him king mechanic? Begin the trial. Regardless of what the inheritance was, Lin's goal here was to wipe out everything in his path, so all he had to do was fight. A hole appeared in the wall, and 3 steel beasts with vast auras emerged. There was a shimmering golden lion, a huge crimson wolf, and a wild horse with lightning flashing around its body. Haha, robot beasts? Lin's eyes lit up. No one answered him. The lion roared and a burst of scorching flames suddenly shot forth from its mouth, which fanned out toward Lin. Lin leaped into the air as his storage ring flashed. You think you can compete with me in a machine battle? I'll fight fire with fire. Gundam 1, Gundam 2, come out. 2 white figures appeared in the air as his storage ring flashed. At this moment, the huge crimson wolf's buttocks exploded, and its body transformed into a streak of red light as it charged toward Lin at an extremely fast speed. Its metallic claws tore through the air toward Lin. Right at this moment, a silver figure appeared in front of Lin and was greeted by a particle sword slash. An ear-piercing screech erupted as the seemingly indestructible wolf claws were torn apart by the particle sword. At this moment, the other Gundam also aimed its cannon at the huge crimson wolf. Boom! The energy cannon shot forth, and a powerful blast of energy exploded, transforming into a light and heat shockwave that blasted the huge crimson wolf into the ground, and its fate was unknown. Ha ha ha, trash! My Gundams are the real robots. Lin placed his hands on his hips and chortled with glee upon seeing this. At this moment, Bai Ling's enraged voice sounded from within the trial room. Lin, you're cheating. Hurry up and put away your bloodline mechanical creation, or get the hell out of here. Lin faltered upon hearing this. Are you being reasonable? Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 belong to me, they're part of my power. 3, 2. Lin was given a fright upon hearing Bai Ling's countdown, and he immediately summoned back his Gundams. Only then did the terrifying countdown disappear. Fine, fine, fine. You have the biggest breast. You have the final say. Lin pursed his lips with displeasure. It's not like I can't beat these robotic beasts. It's just that I haven't used Gundam 1 and Gundam 2 for a long time, and I'm afraid that they'll rust, so I brought them out for a walk. The wild metal horse's entire body erupted with dazzling lightning. As it galloped, it seemed as if it was riding on lightning as it directly crashed into Lin. Lin's expression remained calm as he drew his evil-slaying sword. At the same time, his eyes turned snowy white. The lightning-fast metal horse, which was hard to capture with the naked eye, was instantly full of flaws in his eyes. Whoosh! A black sword projection imbued with the true intent of the 6 strikes of the war god suddenly slashed through the air. The black sword projection flashed past in a flash, and Lin's body also evaded the wild metal horse's charge in that instant. The wild metal horse's blue lightning was still flashing, but its head had already been severed and sent flying into the sky. Boom! The wild metal horse's body crashed to the ground, and the lightning around it also began to dim. Dabai was still engaged in battle with the shimmering golden lion, and their clashes sent gusts of fierce gale-force winds sweeping through the air. Aside from the fact that this lion didn't have a domain, its speed, strength, and defensive prowess were all comparable to that of a Soul Formation initial stage cultivator. It was no wonder that Dabai still hadn't been able to finish off this lion. Lin wasn't in a hurry to help. Instead, he wielded his evil-slaying sword and made his way toward the crimson metal wolf that had been blasted into the ground by the 2 Gundams to see if he should land the killing blow. Sure enough, the metal wolf wasn't dead. Upon seeing Lin, it opened its mouth and unleashed an energy cannon. Lin was already prepared, and after evading the attack with his divine inspection technique, his evil-slaying sword transformed into a series of afterimages as it sliced the crimson metal wolf into pieces. Phew, another one down. Lin finally had the leisure to look at Dabai this time. The battle between Dabai and the lion had already reached its climax, and Dabai was already at the 15th technique of the 18 forms of dog pouncing. Battle dog in the wild, woof! Dabai's body spun, and his chaotic sky-crushing claws transformed into a tornado of saber projections that swept toward the lion. Waves of scorching flames burst forth from the metal lion's mouth, but they were all torn into specks of sparks by the tornado of saber projections. The golden lion's heart jolted with shock upon seeing this, and it immediately unleashed its second mystic technique, Lion's Roar. Roar! It let loose an almighty roar, and powerful sound waves transformed into raging waves that crashed into the blue tornado of saber projections before seeping into Dabai's body. Dabai spat out a mouthful of blood, as if he had been struck by a heavy blow, and he flew back through the air. The shimmering golden lion took advantage of this opportunity to pounce toward Dabai, and the metallic edges of its claws shimmered with a cold light. Lin's expression froze slightly as wings of wind spread open on his back. Divine dog tail whip, woof! In the nick of time, Dabai twisted his body, and his chaotic sky-crushing claws transformed into blades of wind as he slashed a blue crescent toward the lion's head. The screeching sound of metal reverberated throughout the entire space, and sparks flew through the air. The lion was still in its pouncing position when its head flew through the air, leaving sparks of electricity in its wake. Beautiful! Lin couldn't help but applaud upon seeing Dabai's counterattack. Dabai wiped the blood from the corners of his lips with a faint smile. So what if you're the king of all beasts? You still succumb to my claws in the end. Woof! Nice show-off. Lin continued to applaud. Congratulations, you've passed the trial with the machines. Please get the F***CK off to the next trial, and stop flexing. Bai Ling's cold voice sounded within the room, and there seemed to be a hint of resentment in her voice. Lin felt like she had been provoked by him summoning the two Gundams, so he couldn't be bothered to argue with her. He gave Dabai a blood spirit pill and rested for a while before continuing onward. After passing through the gate, Lin and the others arrived in a pitch-black space. This was true darkness where one couldn't even see their own fingers. It was as if they were situated at the bottom of an abyss, where darkness and deathly silence had become eternal. Welcome to the Trial of Darkness. There is a cloned shadow demon here. Find it and defeat it to pass this trial. According to past trial takers, the survival rate for this trial is 0%. You'll receive the inheritance of the shadow demon if you successfully pass this trial. Do you want to begin the trial now? Bai Ling's voice sounded. After hearing that the survival rate for this trial was 0%, Lin finally perked up. He was very confident that he could pass the trials that had a survival rate. After all, if others could survive, then he wouldn't be inferior to them, so he would naturally be able to pass as well. However, he wasn't going to underestimate the trials that had the potential to wipe out all other teams. That meant that the dangers of the trial were unknown. Just like the perilous realm of destruction, they were unsolvable to a certain extent. Lin took a deep breath. Begin the trial. Chapter 366. A chill ran down Lin's spine as soon as his voice fell. Light up this darkness, great holy flame. In the face of this boundless darkness, Lin unleashed his divine flame to illuminate his surroundings. Boom! A streak of light flashed past before it was instantly engulfed by the darkness in complete silence. What? Lin's heart jolted as he felt a ferocious force slam into his chest. The impact was extremely violent. Even though Lin had cultivated in the Earth Lotus Supreme skill and the Evergreen technique, and his body was far more powerful than the average cultivators, his body still caved in from the impact. Excruciating pain swept through his entire body, and Lin threw up a mouthful of blood as his body flew back like a cannonball. Big brother and woof! Dabai let loose an enraged roar as it tried to tear at the spot where Lin had just been standing, only to find that there was nothing there. In the next instant, its body was also struck by a powerful force, and it crashed into the metal wall of the room, causing the metal wall to cave in, and its body was on the verge of falling apart. Dabai, can you determine its location from its scent? Unlin yelled in the darkness. No, it has no scent, Woof, Dabai yelled feebly. This collision had almost crippled it. Unlin gritted its teeth as a pair of wings appeared on its back, and it flew toward Dabai. Dabai could sense an approaching air current, and it immediately raised its claws. Don't attack. It's me. Unlin yelled as he grabbed onto Dabai's fur and unleashed his heavenly void flame to protect himself. Dabai heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing that it was Unlin. However, Unlin's expression was extremely grave. The Shadow Demon's attack was soundless, and there was no way to determine its location from sound or air current. The darkness could engulf all light, so Unlin had no idea how to retaliate. The only fortunate thing was that although the darkness could devour light, it couldn't devour the energy of spells. Unlin had sensed the heat from the great holy flame he had released earlier, and that was the key to breaking through this predicament. Several breaths of time later, a hole suddenly appeared in the void flame, as if it had been torn apart by something. Dabai, be careful! Unlin yelled as he slashed his evil-slaying sword through the air. He could even hear the sound of the sword aura tearing through the air and crashing into the metal walls of the room. Missed? Unlin blinked his eyes. At this moment, his abdomen suffered another terrifying blow. He almost fainted from the blow. In the instant that his evil-slaying sword was struck, he slashed forward with all his might, but it was as if he had struck thin air. The enemy was too fast in the darkness that could even devour light, and Lin had no way of hitting the Shadow Fiend. You forced my hand. Demonic Star Flame, Great Holy Flame, Setting Moon Flame, appear. Sea of Four Spirits Fire, activate. Boom. Terrifying flames instantly engulfed the entire secret chamber. In this secret chamber that wasn't all that big, Unlin didn't even need to do any foreplay before he could unleash the Sea of Four Spirits Fire, dragging the Shadow Fiend into the boundless sea of flames from all directions. He couldn't see where the Shadow Fiend was, but that didn't mean that he couldn't attack it. All he had to do now was unleash an AoE attack, and he would be able to reduce the Shadow Fiend to ashes in this cauldron of flames without even thinking about anything else. After a long while, Unlin stopped unleashing the Sea of Four Spirits Fire, panting heavily. Did I win? Woof? Dabai hid behind Unlin and asked nervously. Unlin was also waiting for the trial passed announcement from the secret chamber, but unfortunately, it didn't appear. How could this be? How could it not die from this? What he received in response was another violent collision. He could vaguely feel that it was a round fist that had struck his chest with the weight of a mountain, and he almost fainted from the impact. He was in disbelief. This enemy was way too powerful. Was this really a trial for spirit-nurturing stage cultivators? Oh no, this was a tomb for spirit-nurturing stage cultivators. Strong attack power, untraceable, unfathomable defense, a hint of despair welled up in Unlin's heart. Was he, a peerless sword immortal, really going to die here? No, there was still a way. He could still cry to Bai Ling for help and beg her to let him out, which was more important, dignity or life. In the darkness, he felt as if he could already see the Shadow Fiend sneering at him with a sinister and mocking smile. He unleashed the heavenly void flame again, which enveloped him and Dabai within. This way, even if the Shadow Fiend wanted to come in, it would have to break through the heavenly void flame first, which would serve as a warning. However, right at this moment, Unlin felt as if his bottom had been struck by a heavy blow. A terrifying force that could topple the mountains and overturn the seas came crashing down, as if it was going to break his pelvis. Boom! Unlin's body flew into the air and crashed into the alloy wall at the ceiling, causing the entire chamber to tremor violently. Pwah! The blood in Unlin's body churned, and he spat out a large mouthful of blood as his body plummeted to the ground. Humiliation, confusion, rage, and all kinds of other emotions filled his entire body. Was this really the end? This trial was far too inexplicable, so inexplicable that Enlin was on the verge of defeat, and he had no idea why he was being bashed. The Shadow Fiend clearly hadn't broken through the heavenly void flame, so how was it able to attack him? What kind of King monster was this? Enlin's body plummeted to the ground, and the chill of death began to approach him. Right at this moment, his pocket began to squirm. "It's too dark, there must be light." A sweet, yet slightly angry voice suddenly sounded. "The sun shines in the sky, and the flowers smile at me. The little bird says, it's too dark, I want to be a third wheel." A fragrant breeze blew past as the moving song drifted through the air. A dazzling golden disk suddenly appeared in the chamber like the sun. It was like a golden longsword that tore through the darkness, bringing light to the entire space. "Odd, it's so bright. Woof." Debai's dog eyes were already blinded. Enlin was also dazzled by this sudden bright light, and he was even tearing up from the brightness. "Humph, you dare to darken me? I'll shine you to death." The sweet voice sounded again. Enlin could clearly hear this voice. It was Xiao Hong's voice. He opened his teary eyes to see a seductive girl in a fiery red dress already standing in the air. There was a sun above her head, and she held a red staff in her hand. Don't ask Enlin why Xiao Hong had a sun above her head and a staff in her hand. He didn't know either. On the ground, a black figure finally revealed itself, and it was trembling under the sunlight. Enlin was stunned upon seeing this figure. His enemy, the legendary Shadow Fiend, was actually a kangaroo. It was a kangaroo that was only half the height of a grown man, and it was wearing a black boxing glove. "Although you're very cute, you've already hurt my master. That's a capital offense." Xiao Hong shouted lightly, and the red staff in her hand rotated along with her body. "I'll destroy you in the name of the sun. Go, emissary of the sun." As the red staff glowed with a golden light, a naked, muscular golden monk began to appear. It raised its fists and charged toward the kangaroo. Don't ask Enlin why Xiao Hong was able to summon such a strange monk. He didn't know either. The black kangaroo's body trembled upon seeing the naked monk charging toward it. A black crack began to appear behind it, and it jumped back into the crack. The crack closed, and everything returned to normal. No, Enlin's heart couldn't calm down at all. The naked, muscular monk suddenly smiled kindly at Enlin. Enlin had goosebumps. What the **CK is this thing? Chapter 367. Enlin wasn't surprised that Xiao Hong knew how to sing school song. After all, Xiao Hong loved to sing nursery rhymes when she was photosynthesizing, and 300 nursery rhymes was a gift he had given to Xiao Hong. But who could tell Enlin what a sun above Xiao Hong's head and a staff in her hand was? Also, what the hell was this naked, muscular monk that Xiao Hong referred to as the messenger of the sun? Huh? The kangaroo escaped? What do we do now? Xiao Hong landed beside Enlin, and there was a hint of distress on her pure and seductive features. The shadow demon has the ability to open up alternate dimensions. That would explain why it was able to survive my sea of divine flames, and why it was able to penetrate the heavenly void flame's defenses to attack me. Enlin furrowed his brows. However, it's not a return to void stage cultivator, so its spatial manipulation ability definitely won't last forever. Let's wait and see if it can't hold on any longer. Oh! Little Red nodded her head obediently. Her pair of charming eyes looked around with rapt attention. Dabai ran over to Xiao Hong excitedly. "Big Boss Hong, you really are our lucky star. You saved the world right from the get-go and didn't bring shame to our beast pet team, woof." Hee hee. Xiao Hong blushed with excitement and summoned a few more messengers of the sun, all of whom were scattered around the secret chamber in preparation to bash the shadow demon to death as soon as it appeared. Enlin's lips twitched at the sight of the naked, muscular monks in the secret chamber. Xiao Hong, are you tired of standing under the sun?" He felt like it was a good idea to test Xiao Hong's mental state first. No, no, this golden wheel is a gift from the sun, we should all praise the sun. Xiao Hong's eyes lit up with pride. And Lin, then, what's up with these monks? What do they have to do with the messenger of the sun? And Lin thought about it for a moment before deciding to ask Xiao Hong about her inner world. After all, it was her master's question, so Little Red answered very straightforwardly. She immediately said sweetly, Master, what can you think of when you look at the monk's head? What can you think of? Their hair is gone? And Lin blinked and said, Wrong. I can think of the sun. Little Red said in a cadence, Monks' heads are round and round, like the round sun in the sky. They can even reflect the radiance of the sun. That's why they are worthy of being the emissaries of the sun. And Lin's heart sank when he heard this. Did Little Red become stupid from the sun? At this moment, Little Red was already agitated. Life gave you a head of black hair, but you used it to block the sun. With a face full of emotion, she raised her hands high. Only monks would shave their black hair to reflect the radiance of the sun. Praise the sun. All right, there's no need to doubt it. Little Red has definitely gone crazy from the sun. And Lin looked at Little Red with a pained expression. Was it because he didn't pay enough attention to her? He didn't even know that she had undergone such a terrifying transformation. Little Red, monks don't shave their heads to praise the sun. Instead, they shave off their worries and worries. And Lin tried to persuade her. Little Red retorted, If an object is an object, then that object is an object. If an object isn't an object, then that object isn't an object. An object doesn't deserve its name, and an object doesn't deserve its name. Master, some things don't necessarily exist as the legends say. Objects don't necessarily match their names. Even though they're like yet not like, they're still illusions. In my eyes, the true appearance of a bald head is to praise the sun. And Lin stood rooted to the spot, dumbstruck. A myriad of thoughts flashed through his mind. Is that really the case? Could it really be like what Little Red said? Did Little Red become stupid from the sun, or did she become smart from the sun? What she said makes so much sense, what do I do? How am I supposed to persuade a crude person like me? No, why do I have to persuade her? Perhaps I really am bald to praise the sun? Right at this moment, a few muscular monks turned toward Lin with benevolent smiles on their faces. Their bald heads shimmered under the light of Little Red's sun, making it impossible to look at them directly, and Lin shuddered in fear upon seeing this. The more he looked at them, the stranger he felt. A monk with thick muscles, a naked body, and a head that reflected the sunlight, f*ck. There's definitely something wrong with this bizarre image. No, I have to stop this from happening. Otherwise, Little Red's image will be completely distorted. And Lin took a deep breath before speaking with a solemn expression. Xiao Hong, if you say that you're bald to praise the sun, then why do you keep your hair? This proves that you only need a sincere heart to praise the sun. Little Red was clearly startled when she heard this, and a contemplative expression appeared on her beautiful and delicate face. Clap! She suddenly clapped her hands together, as if she had suddenly come to a realization. I was wondering why there seemed to be something missing during photosynthesis. It turns out that I didn't follow through with this step. Immediately afterward, her storage ring flashed, and a long sword appeared in her hand, which she used to slash toward her head. Holy f*ck. And Lin almost pissed his pants upon seeing this, and he immediately pounced over to hug Little Red tightly. Calm down. Calm down. Pretend I didn't say anything just then. He yelled as he held onto Little Red's warm and fragrant body. Little Red was perplexed. Why should I pretend I didn't say anything? I feel like Master's question is very reasonable. And Lin was about to cry. Reasonable my a*s. That question of, why do you have to keep your hair, was just a prelude. The main point was that, you only need a sincere heart to praise the sun. If Little Red really shaved her head, the image would be absolutely insane. During the battle, a seductive bald girl appeared on the battlefield and yelled, "Praise the sun!" Then, a group of naked, bald, and muscular monks rushed out to battle. When that time came, not only would Little Red be done for, but Unlin's reputation would also be completely ruined. When that time came, there would definitely be many people questioning what kind of perverted master Little Red had to be to have trained Little Red to become like this. Unlin snatched Little Red's longsword and massaged his brows as he tried to think of an excuse. Right at this moment, the space within the room suddenly began to squirm, immediately following which a spatial crack began to appear. In this bright space, this spatial crack was extremely glaring. It was quite clear that the shadow demon was unable to hold on any longer and was about to return to this space. The black kangaroo fell to the ground with a plop. Little Red's light seemed to have a very powerful suppressive effect on the kangaroo. As soon as the kangaroo appeared in this space, its body shuddered involuntarily, and it found it difficult to open its eyes. Then, the kangaroo was greeted by the sight of a few naked, muscular monks pouncing toward it. What followed was an extremely violent and gory scene that was not suitable for children. Thump thump thump, pa pa pa, da da da, poo pu pu. The kangaroo lay on the ground after being attacked by several monks. It was barely breathing and its eyes were hazy with tears. Little Red gathered the light of the golden crow at her fingertips, and a golden beam of energy pierced through the kangaroo's head, putting an end to the battle. "Congratulations, you have successfully passed the trial of darkness." Bai Ling's voice suddenly sounded, and a white light also lit up in the secret chamber. "Boss Hong is mighty. Boss Hong is domineering and unparalleled. Woof!" Bai shouted excitedly. It could be said that Xiao Hong had single-handedly turned the tide of the battle, and her reputation in the Beast Pet team had been further elevated. At least, that was how Bai felt in his heart. Unlin rubbed Lil Red's head in a gratified manner. At this time, the muscular monks turned their heads again. They were completely naked, and they smiled kindly at him. Chapter 368. Unlin's balls almost caved in at the sight of those monks smiling at him. A powerful thought reverberated through his mind. No, he had to stop Xiao Hong. "Xiao Hong, I have something to discuss with you," Unlin said with a serious expression. "Yes, master, please speak." Little Red nodded obediently. Unlin cleared his throat. "Do you think these monks or you are the one praising the sun more?" "Of course it's me. The messenger of the sun that I summon is, in a sense, the manifestation of my will," Xiao Hong replied after a moment of thought. "Then why don't you change the messenger of the sun into your own appearance? Isn't a young girl who photosynthesizes every day more fitting of the theme of praising the sun? This is called the return of the essence," Unlin persuaded. But a conflicted expression appeared on Xiao Hong's face. I feel like muscular monks are more domineering." Unlin's lips twitched upon hearing this. "Domineering? You can't tell if it's domineering? You're clearly a pervert. This is my command. Make the messenger of the sun look like you from now on." Unlin spoke with a solemn expression. If Xiao Hong didn't listen, then he would have to use his status to force her. "All right." Xiao Hong pouted with an aggrieved expression. The staff in her hand shimmered with light, and the naked monks finally began to transform. After the transformation, Unlin and Bai both drew a sharp intake of breath, and their breathing accelerated. Several stunningly beautiful girls appeared in front of them, completely naked. They all looked like Xiao Hong. Even though they were materialized from golden light, their alluring figures were undeniable. They had long, slender legs, sexy waists, and domineering breasts. Unlin and Bai both suffered internal injuries, and blood flowed from their noses. What do I do? Should I ask Xiao Hong to add some clothes to her messenger of the sun? It doesn't seem like there's a problem if she doesn't add clothes, no. I can look, but I can't let the enemies and spectators take advantage of me. Ahem, Little Red, we need to add the sun messenger's clothes as well. Unlin looked straight ahead. I still have to add more clothes? That's so troublesome. Little Red pouted unhappily. Dabai said considerately, then don't add it, woof. Bang! And Lin didn't say anything. He punched the dog's head. Yes, we must. And Lin said righteously. Yes, add it, Boss Hong. Woof. Dabai, who had a bump on his head, echoed loudly. Due to the tyranny of its master, Little Red had no choice but to slowly design the clothes. Then, it added opaque golden clothes to each of the Little Reds formed by the golden light. A trace of disappointment flashed in Lin and Dabai's eyes as they secretly wiped the blood off their faces. In the future, when you summon the Sun Emissary, form it according to the image just now, understand? Lin ordered again. Got it, you're so annoying. Little Red harumphed. I'm tired, I'm going to rest. Don't go to places that are too dark next time. I can't even sleep soundly. Lin rolled his eyes. Oh, so Little Red attacked because the environment of the battle was too dark and disturbed her rest? Speaking of which, wasn't darkness more suitable for sleeping? However, her light was really powerful, it could even pierce through that kind of darkness. A red light flashed, and Little Red once again nestled quietly in Lin's pocket. The surrounding space instantly became a lot darker due to the absence of Little Red's sun disk. The sun messengers also dissipated into golden particles. Lin pulled out the little red flower and pinched its crimson petals to find that they were soft and smooth to the touch, and the flower trembled slightly upon contact. What are you doing? A sweet voice sounded with a hint of drowsiness. Nothing, I haven't touched you in a long time, I want to see if you've grown up. Lin smiled. Little Red shook its head. Master, are you flirting with me? Lin's lips twitched, and he immediately stuffed Little Red back into his pocket. What was wrong with this world? Why was it so difficult to communicate with one's own beast pets? Lin and Dabai both swallowed a blood spirit pill before sitting down to meditate. This battle had been extremely perilous, and both man and dog had sustained quite a number of injuries. This made Lin realize just how terrifying a trial with a 0% chance of survival was. According to Bai Ling, the trials would only get more difficult as they progressed. Just how difficult was the next trial going to be? It was all thanks to Little Red this time. Otherwise, who knew what kind of price they would have to pay to successfully pass this trial? With this in mind, Lin was struck by a rare sense of retreat. Before they knew it, a day had already passed. With the assistance of pills, Lin and Dabai's injuries had all been completely healed. Big Brotherin, should we continue onward, Wolf? Dabai asked. A hesitant expression appeared on Lin's face. Should they continue onward? He had thought that he would be able to crush his way through this trial with his own strength, but it looked like that wasn't the case at all. There were simply too many uncertainties. Dabai, it's too dangerous from here on out. How about you leave first and I'll take the rest of the trial myself? Lin thought about it for a moment before deciding to give it a try. Once he progressed to the soul formation stage, this opportunity in the Purple Star Ruins would be completely cut off. He felt like he had to work harder for this. The path of cultivation couldn't completely eliminate all risk. On the contrary, only by experiencing some dangers could one hone one's Tao heart and truly grow, thereby allowing one to progress further. Big Brotherin, what kind of dog do you think I, Dabai, am? I'm not a coward. If you want to continue onward, then I'll do it with you. Woof. Dabai spoke with a determined expression. Lin was very touched upon hearing this, and he rubbed Dabai's head vigorously. All right, let's continue onward. The metal gate slowly opened to reveal a passageway that was as blue as water ripples. Lin and Dabai continued onward, and the temperature in the passageway became lower and lower. Finally, the two of them arrived in an extremely spacious space. The entire space was pure white and was covered in frost and snow. The extreme cold made the two of them shudder involuntarily. At the end of the secret chamber was a blue crystal. It was glowing with a dazzling blue light, and there were blue ripples proliferating outward like water ripples. Welcome to the trial of extreme frost. Make your way to the blue crystal and inject your vital energy into it to pass this trial. According to past trial takers, the survival rate for this trial is 0%. You will receive the inheritance of the spatial congeal technique if you successfully pass this trial. Do you wish to begin the trial now? Bai Ling's voice sounded within the secret chamber. And Lin immediately thought back to the perilous realm of destruction when he heard this. He had to inject his vital energy into a small floating ball in order to pass this trial. Seeing as this trial was similar to the perilous realm of destruction, then there was no way he would be a pushover. He was only able to pass the perilous realm of destruction because he had the chaotic alloy brick. So what about the trial of extreme frost this time? He couldn't just force his way through, could he? He didn't know what kind of dangers he would encounter, so all he could do was give it his all. And Lin brought out the chaotic alloy brick and held his evil-slaying sword as he focused his senses on his surroundings. After adjusting himself to his peak condition, he decided to begin this trial. Begin the trial. A scintillating light erupted from the blue crystal as Lin's voice fell. An extremely frosty aura swept toward Lin in a frenzy. Chapter 369. Lin immediately placed his black brick in front of him as he sensed the oncoming frosty aura. Boom! The black brick was pushed back violently, and a bone-chilling chill instantly enveloped his entire body. Lin looked at the glowing blue crystal at the end of the chamber, as well as the chamber that was covered in frost and ice, and a peculiar feeling welled up in his heart. He tossed a spirit stone toward the blue crystal in an experimental manner, but the spirit stone only traveled 5 meters before it was completely frozen in midair. There was still a distance of over 100 meters between the spirit stone and the crystal. He thought for a moment before pulling out a high-rank magic tool longsword from his storage ring. He injected his vital energy into the longsword before hurling it toward the blue crystal with all his might. Whoosh! The longsword transformed into a streak of golden light that pierced through the air and the chill before hurtling forward. 80 meters, 70 meters, 60 meters, 50 meters in the end, the longsword was frozen in midair 42 meters away from the blue crystal, as if it had been frozen by the air itself. Bai's mouth gaped open in disbelief. Big Brotherin, what's going on now? How can the air freeze a magic tool? Lin tried to activate the high-rank magic tool, only to find that it was sealed in place by an extremely powerful restrictive power, rendering him completely unable to move. This space possesses the power to freeze all things, and the closer we get to the blue crystal, the more powerful it becomes. Lin's expression was also quite dark. He had just hurled his flying sword with all his might, but he was still only 40 meters away from the blue crystal. If he had rushed forward in a reckless manner, he would have most likely been frozen to death. However, Lin didn't despair, as this wasn't the first time he had seen something like this. He had seen Lu Qinhuan use it once during her battle against the mysterious bald man in the Shouyang tomb. Perhaps he would be able to learn something if he asked Lu Qinhuan about this. He pulled out his voice transmission talisman with a hint of relief in his heart. Thankfully, Lu Qinhuan had shamelessly asked him for a voice transmission talisman for the sake of the League of Valor. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to find a way to ask for help. The sound transmission signal of the voice transmission talisman was very good. As long as one was not in a different dimension, no matter how closed or wild the environment was, the signal could be clearly transmitted. But it also had flaws. The sound transmission distance of the voice transmission talisman was related to the density of the origin energy of both parties. Lin exerted all his strength, and only then did the voice transmission talisman respond with a phew sound. One of them was in the Celestial Court, while the other was in the Myriad Mountain Domain, which was outside the 9 prefectures. The distance was too great. Hey, Lin, why are you looking for me at a time like this? Aren't you going to class? A delicate and exceptionally soft voice rang out, as if trying to suppress its volume. It was clear that Lu Qianhuan was in class. And Lin didn't even get a chance to speak before Lu Qianhuan exclaimed in shock. No. Holy F***ck. Why is my vitality being depleted so quickly? Did you go to outer space? I've encountered a difficult situation in a certain set of ruins. Time is of the essence, so I need long-range support. And Lin knew that now was not the time to waste time, so he continued, I've encountered a trial of extreme frost. In an extremely cold space, any object that flies toward a blue crystal will be sealed in midair. It seems that the closer one gets to the blue crystal, the stronger the sealing power becomes. In order to pass the trial, I have to inject my vital energy into the blue crystal. I remember that you have an ability that's very similar to this, right? Please find a way to break through it. Oh, not bad, Unlin. Who would have thought that you'd encountered the glacial freezing technique? Lu Qianhuan's interest was piqued, but she knew the severity of the situation, so she quickly replied, according to what you've said, that blue crystal should be the source of the frost power. It's easy to break through it. Power, temperature, and speed. It takes time to freeze the movement of an object in this type of domain. Furthermore, the extremely high temperature that envelopes the entire body can slow down this freezing process to a certain extent. At the same time, a powerful force can even break through the glacial freezing technique. Do you understand what I'm saying? And Lin nodded. A little. It's just a combination of the three. I have one last question. What if I accidentally get frozen? Lu Qianhuan pondered for a moment before replying with a serious expression. That's a problem. Do you have any will? You can tell me in advance. Also, I'll inherit your WeChat and QQ accounts in the mortal world. I'll make sure to bring them to greater heights. And Lin, alright, looks like I'll be dead if I get frozen. This is AF** King Gamble. Although he knew how to deal with this, who could guarantee that he'd be able to touch the blue crystal? The voice transmission talisman expended too much vital energy, so he ended the call after exchanging a few more words with Lu Qianhuan. And Lin took a deep breath as he looked at the blue crystal, which was still glowing brightly. The most important factor in this final trial was still up to him. Speed, temperature, and power. He didn't lack any of these three things. Wait here, Dabai, I'll go give it a try. And Lin turned to Dabai. Dabai knew that it wouldn't be able to participate in this trial, so it retreated and nodded. Everything went smoothly, big brother. And Lin smiled lightly as streams of white wind began to revolve around his evil-slaying sword. At the same time, a pair of pure white wings of wind appeared on his back as he activated the second stage of the Wind Sword and Wind Spirit technique. Demonic Star Flame, Great Holy Flame, Setting Moon Flame, Heavenly Void Flame, appear. Sea of flames of the four symbols, materialize. The four colored flames enshrouded his entire body before condensing to form a suit of purplish-golden flaming armor. Scorching waves of flames began to proliferate outward, as if they were trying to destroy this space of extreme frost. However, these scorching flames were only able to spread for 10 meters before they were completely ground away by the frost and snow. And Lin's expression remained unchanged as a black mist began to revolve around his body. Origin energy of the netherworld. Boom. An extremely powerful aura began to emanate from his body. This was a power that struck fear into the hearts of onlookers. And Lin stamped a foot forward, and his entire body transformed into a purplish-golden flaming shooting star as he charged toward the blue crystal at the end of the chamber with unstoppable might. His monstrous speed triggered a violent sonic boom, and the scorching energy caused the air around him to twist and warp as well as the snow and ice to melt. 100 meters, 50 meters, 20 meters, the indescribable frost began to make the flaming armor dim, and the space around him congealed. And Lin could feel an extremely powerful sense of resistance, and every meter he advanced forward was extremely difficult. 10 meters. The purplish-golden flaming armor began to crumble under the impact of the extreme frost. A bone-chilling frost swept toward Enlin, and it became more and more terrifying, as if it were trying to freeze his consciousness. Enlin gritted his teeth and advanced with all his might. Black mist revolved around his body, and his muscles and bones began to tremble involuntarily. Stopping would mean death, so he had to advance. 3 meters. A suffocating frost transformed the space before him into an impenetrable fortress. Enlin felt as if he had crashed into an invisible wall of frost, and he was unable to advance any further as his body began to congeal. Enlin raised his evil-slaying sword high into the air as his eyes turned inky black. He activated his endless night sword technique, and a peerlessly powerful aura erupted forth. "Break through!" Enlin roared as he slashed down with his evil-slaying sword. A black crescent moon began to appear, and it instantly tore through the congealed space before striking the blue crystal. Boom! Enlin's body suddenly became light, and he instantly covered the distance of 3 meters as he grabbed toward the blue crystal. He was just about to inject his vital energy. Gotcha! A crisp sound suddenly rang out. The blue crystal suddenly shattered like glass falling to the ground. Enlin's pupils contracted as he stood rooted to the spot with a dumbstruck expression. Immediately afterward, boundless frost instantly enshrouded the entire chamber, freezing everything in its path. Chapter 370. What if the blue crystal shattered? How was he supposed to inject vital energy into it? How was he supposed to pass the trial? Enlin was completely dumbstruck when the crystal shattered. He didn't expect something like this to happen. Thinking back to what had just happened, it seemed like the crystal had shattered because his sword projection had struck it. Enlin began to cry at his own stupidity. When he saw the power of frost released by the crystal, he immediately retreated in a frenzy. However, his speed was no match for the speed at which the frost was spreading. In the blink of an eye, everything in the chamber had been frozen solid. Enlin's body was rooted to the spot, and his blood began to congeal. Even every single cell in his body had fallen silent. Even his origin energy of the netherworld had been frozen solid. He felt a bone-chilling cold, as if his consciousness was about to dissipate. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, Enlin saw a figure slowly walking toward him from within the blue mist that had erupted from the crystal. This was a beautiful woman in a white dress. She had a tall and lithe figure, and her skin was as fair as snow. She exuded a cold and aloof aura as she walked. She rolled her eyes with displeasure as she looked at the frozen Enlin. Waves of shock surged through Enlin's heart. Holy F***ck, why is she here? The woman was none other than Bai Ling. She had appeared from within the blue mist after the crystal had exploded. Her figure was so abrupt and unexpected. Just as Enlin was about to lose consciousness from the cold, the frost within the chamber converged toward Bai Ling's body, and the frozen space around them also instantly disappeared. Enlin's body suddenly became light, and he fell backward like a zombie. Thump! The sound of something hard colliding erupted. His body had successfully crashed into the ground, but he didn't feel any pain. There was nothing he could do. His entire body was frozen solid, and he hadn't even recovered yet. Even his sense of pain had completely disappeared. On the other side, Bai was also lying on the ground like a statue. Bai Ling made her way over to Enlin's side and squatted down. She poked Enlin's stiff cheek with her slender index finger and pursed her lip. "Tell me, are you crazy?" "Enlin." Bai Ling glared at Enlin. "Just focus on your training. Why do you have to use your sword to strike the crystal? Don't you know how difficult it is for me to cast spells in the crystal? If you continue to slash like this, not only will the crystal be broken, but even I, who is inside, will also almost be cut in half. What you're doing is destroying public property and endangering the mainframe's safety. It's a capital offense, do you understand?" Enlin's mouth twitched. "F***ck. I really didn't know you were casting a spell in the crystal, big sister. His lips trembled, and under the effect of the evergreen longevity, he finally managed to regain the ability to speak. Speaking of which, isn't this the trial grounds of the Purple Star Ruins? Isn't this the trial of extreme frost? Why are you, a mainframe, acting as a checkpoint in the crystal? This is a human service, do you understand? If I didn't do this, how would I increase the difficulty for you? Bai Ling looked at the man on the ground with a disdainful expression. Human service? Increase the difficulty? Lin almost threw up a mouthful of blood upon hearing this. He glowered at Bai Ling. You're trying to increase the difficulty for me? No wonder. No wonder I couldn't get close to the blue crystal even after using all of my trump cards. How could there be such a freakish spirit-nurturing stage checkpoint in this world? You're the one behind all of this. Bai Ling chuckled coldly. What? You're not convinced? I have the final say in these ruins. If you don't have the courage to rise to the occasion, how are you worthy of the precious inheritance of the Purple Star Ruins? Lin's lips twitched. He had already experienced Bai Ling's shamelessness when he and his team had been forced to buy and sell items. Who would have thought that she would be forced to increase the difficulty of the trial this time? Was there still any reason? Was there still any law? Then, do I pass this trial or not? Lin asked feebly. He had already made up his mind. One day, when he achieved phenomenal success, he was definitely going to beat the crap out of Bai Ling. Bai Ling seemed to be hesitating for a moment before replying. Even though the way you handled the trial wasn't very appropriate, I'll still open the back door for you out of consideration for our past friendship. You've passed this trial. What the F***ck are you talking about? You're secretly increasing the difficulty for me out of consideration for our past friendship? Lin was furious, but he still forced a smile onto his face. Thank you for your kindness, big sister Bai. I'll be sure to continue working hard. Good boy, there's still one more trial. After you pass it, you'll be able to receive all of the information about the Purple Star Ruins. Bai Ling patted Lin's head with a gentle expression of encouragement. This was the first time Lin had been patted on the head like this, and goosebumps erupted all over his body. However, his attention was still drawn to the last trial that Bai Ling mentioned. What's the last trial like? Can you tell me, big sister Bai? Lin spoke with an affectionate expression as he rubbed his head against Bai Ling's soft palm. I can't tell you, but I can tell you that I won't be providing any human services for the last trial, so I won't give you any reward of love. It'll be an original trial, Bai Ling replied with a smile. Reward of love my A**s. Isn't it just extra difficulty? Why do you have to make it sound so nice? Just as Lin was grumbling internally, Bai Ling had already stood up, and her gentle expression turned frosty again. Congratulations, you have passed the trial of extreme frost. You may now proceed to the next trial. Her body transformed into specks of light again as she spoke. Lin lay on the ground for a moment before standing up shakily. He still hadn't fully recovered from the extreme frost, nor had he recovered from the exhaustion caused by using the origin energy of the netherworld. He turned around to find Dabai sprawled on the ground like a dead dog with its tongue hanging out, clearly having also been severely frozen. Dabai, are you going to be all right? Lin looked down at Dabai with a sympathetic expression. Only now do I realize that even that thick layer of fat and long white fur can't keep me out, woof. Dabai narrowed its eyes with a disconsolate expression. In this trial, the man and the dog once again suffered serious injuries. They silently began the journey of recuperation. A day later, Lin and Dabai finally recovered from their injuries. Another 2 days passed, and Lin finally recovered from the side effects of using the origin energy of the netherworld. There's not much time left, let's begin the final trial. Lin adjusted himself to his peak condition and stood up with a glowing expression on his face. All right, let's go rescue the beautiful princess trapped in the ruins, woof. Dabai was also in high spirit. The metal gate was slowly pushed open, and a crimson passageway appeared before them. Lin stepped onto this passageway and began his final trial. Chapter 371. Lin had initially thought that the red passageway leading into the depths of the ruins was just a disgusting color scheme. But after careful observation and touch, he discovered that the red inner wall was really smeared with blood. This blood must have been smeared on for a long time. Who would have thought that the Research Institute's preservation techniques would be so good? It's still so bright red. Lin nodded in affirmation. Dabai followed behind Lin and sniffed the air with its nose as it looked ahead with a cautious expression. It could smell a very strange scent in the air. It wasn't the scent of blood, but rather, it was a scent that evoked an involuntary sense of revulsion. Soon, they arrived at an extremely spacious secret chamber. The entire secret chamber was completely empty aside from a gargantuan glass container that hovered in the center of the secret chamber. There was a red liquid within the glass container, within which was a dragon-headed monster with azure scales and a pair of red bony wings on its back. Its eyes were closed as it immersed itself in the liquid, as if it had fallen into a deep slumber. Welcome to the trial of sin. The 100-beast demon within the glass container is a failed product of the Purple Star Bloodline Research Institute. It is a fusion of the bloodline inheritances of over 100 mutant beasts and is at the pinnacle of bloodline creation. However, it also has a fatal flaw, which is that it has lost its consciousness and can only be used as a weapon of sin. Defeat and kill the 100-beast demon to pass this trial. According to past trial takers, the survival rate for this trial is 0%. If you pass this trial, you can choose any inheritance you wish. Do you want to begin the trial now? Bai Ling's voice sounded within the secret chamber. This time, she introduced the trial in great detail. Lin heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing that the trial was about combat. He had never been scared of anyone in a battle of pure combat prowess. Begin the trial. Lin's storage ring flashed as he held his evil slaying sword in his hand. The container was opened and crimson blood began to flow onto the ground. The 100-beast demon lost its support and crashed to the ground with a thump. Its eyes were still closed, as if it had yet to wake up. Lin, Dabai, Big Brother, should we wake it up first? Woof. Dabai asked. Lin smiled coldly. Of course I should wake it up. As he spoke, the fingertips of his left hand moved with dazzling lightning, while his right hand burst forth with boundless golden light. Mountain-shaking lightning fist. In the blink of an eye, a golden lightning fist imbued with terrifying power hurtled toward the 100-beast demon on the ground. This move was incomparably powerful, but it needed to be charged up. It was the best time to use it here. Boom! The golden light was accompanied by a destructive explosion of lightning, and the energy swept through the entire secret chamber. Lin and Dabai were also pushed back by the powerful shockwave of the explosion. The defenseless 100-beast demon would definitely be crippled even if it didn't die. Lin had just unleashed his divine inspection technique in an attempt to assess the situation within the explosion when a black shadow abruptly broke through the energy of the explosion and pounced toward the retreating Lin. So fast, the hair on the back of Lin's neck stood on end. He was able to determine where the 100-beast demon was going to attack with his divine inspection technique, but the 100-beast demon was simply too fast. So fast that Lin didn't even have time to defend himself. Wind sword. The evil slaying sword's speed instantly increased drastically as it tore through the air, leaving a streak of pure white light in its wake before crashing into the oncoming azure palm. Boom! The clash between the two swept up gale-force winds and caused the earth to cave in. Lin could also sense an indescribable power that was even more powerful than his own. At this moment, he finally had a chance to see the 100-beast demon's appearance. The 100-beast demon was struck by the mountain-shaking lightning fist, but it was completely unscathed. Its purple eyes were cold and sinister, and its pair of crimson bone wings flapped like flesh and blood, striking fear into the onlookers' hearts. Lion's roar. An eerie roar erupted from the 100-beast demon's mouth. Roar. A dark sound wave suddenly erupted from its azure palm, and the lion's roar was imbued with an extremely powerful sound wave blast toward Enlin's body, instantly sending Enlin flying. The 100-beast demon was just about to give chase after Enlin, when several blue saber projections suddenly flew through the air toward it. Snake Shadow Step. The 100-beast demon stopped its pursuit of Enlin, and its body transformed into a streak of afterimages as it instantly evaded the powerful saber projections before charging toward Dabai. Splitting Bat Palm. An azure palm enshrouded Dabai's entire body, giving Dabai a huge fright as he hurriedly retreated. However, the palm was able to twist and warp the space around it. An invisible shockwave pierced through the air and crashed directly into Dabai's body, causing it to cave in. Dabai was severely wounded, and his body crashed heavily into the metal wall. Right at this moment, heaven and earth were suddenly plunged into darkness, immediately followed by the screeching of swords. Enlin had unleashed the Shadow Tiger technique, and his evil-slaying sword fell upon the 100-beast demon's neck. The inky black sword intent even tore a massive gash into the unknown metal on the ground. His pupils shrank as he stared at the 100-beast demon's neck in shock. His heart was in turmoil. The evil-slaying sword was unable to cut even half an inch into the 100-beast demon's neck. How could this be? No. Enlin focused his gaze. He could see that there was an extremely small distance between the evil-slaying sword and the 100-beast demon's scaled skin. This small distance made it feel as if his longsword had struck an indestructible metal plate. Tornado Cloud. The 100-beast demon turned to look at Enlin, and a cruel smile appeared on its face, revealing a row of sharp shark teeth. Boom! An azure tornado swept forth from its body, transforming into countless peerlessly sharp blades that tore through the metal ground and tore at Enlin's body. Blood splattered through the air, and Enlin spread open his wings of wind as he hurtled back in retreat. Why was the 100-beast demon completely unscathed after taking his mountain-quaking lightning fist, and why was the Shadow Tiger unable to even slice through the 100-beast demon's neck? All of this was because of the spatial barrier. Just like the Gundam floating in the hall outside, the 100-beast demon's body was also enshrouded in a spatial barrier, which prevented it from being harmed by anything, thereby giving it an invincible position. If Enlin wanted to harm the 100-beast demon, then he would have to break through its spatial barrier. Generally speaking, only Return to Void stage mighty figures were capable of breaking through spatial barriers. How was he supposed to fight this? His enemies possessed all kinds of trump cards, and they even had a turtle shell that only a Return to Void stage mighty figure could shatter. They were invincible. Even if Enlin used his origin energy of the Netherworld, he wouldn't be able to defeat them. The 100-beast demon charged toward Enlin again as crimson flames gathered in its palm. Enlin slashed out a black sword projection, but the 100-beast demon evaded it again with its agile movement technique. A hint of confusion flashed through his mind. It was clearly invincible, so why was it evading his sword strike? Was this an instinctive reaction? Or was it because the spatial barrier would expend energy to attack it? Bright Bird Mantra. It slammed a palm toward Enlin, and the crimson flames in its palm converged to form an extremely dazzling ball of flames before exploding like a bomb. Boom! The entire secret chamber tremored violently in that instant. Violent crimson flames engulfed and melted everything in its path, transforming the entire secret chamber into a sea of flames. Chapter 372. Within the sea of crimson flames, Enlin's clothes were torn to shreds as a blue light barrier enshrouded his body to keep the flames at bay. The southern heavenly ice silkworm holy robe activated its protective ability to keep the explosion at bay. Enlin knew that this immortal tool had a limited amount of energy and couldn't protect its owner for many times. He had to use this time to find a way out of this predicament. The cry of a falcon sounded as the 100-beast demon spread open its crimson skeletal wings and pounced toward Enlin like a falcon. Enlin turned his eyes toward the peculiar skeletal wings before unleashing his wind sword technique again. The evil-slaying sword transformed into a streak of black light as it slashed down toward the skeletal wings. Boom! He could see that his longsword was knocked aside by an invisible spatial barrier before it even came into contact with the skeletal wings. The mountain-toppling force almost tore open the web between his thumb and forefinger. No. That wasn't the 100-beast demon's weakness. Could it be that he really had to break through the spatial barrier to escape? But even the origin energy of the netherworld wouldn't be able to shatter the spatial barrier. If he recklessly used the origin energy of the netherworld now, he really wouldn't have a chance to turn the situation around once the mystic technique expired. Realm Dragon Heaven Lightning. The 100-beast demon placed its palms in front of itself at the sight of Enlin flying through the air. Black lightning continued to converge, and its power became more and more fearsome until even the space around it began to tremor. Boom! A bolt of black lightning as thick as a water bucket tore through the air toward Enlin like a true dragon. Enlin pointed a finger at the bolt of lightning. Lightning manipulation technique. In an instant, the space was silent, and the black lightning was actually frozen in the void. The 100-beast demon's violent expression faltered slightly upon seeing this. Lightning amplification technique. Crack! An invisible ripple appeared, and the black lightning became even darker, as if it were going to annihilate everything in its path. Enlin curled his finger, and the black lightning suddenly changed direction to instantly puncture the 100-beast demon's chest. Boom! The terrifying power of the black lightning engulfed and annihilated everything it came into contact with, blasting a black hole into the 100-beast demon's chest from which crimson blood splattered through the air. Roar! The 100-beast demon roared with shock and confusion. Seeing this, Enlin was shocked. He had the first way to break out of this situation. The spatial barrier couldn't isolate the 100-beast demon's power. This logic could be understood if one thought about it seriously. The 100-beast demon needed to absorb the world's origin chi and transform it within its body before releasing it. If the space barrier could even block his power, then wouldn't the energy directly explode in his body? As Enlin watched the heavily injured 100-beast demon retreat, a glimmer of hope finally rose in his heart. Unfortunately, he had only managed to severely wound the 100-beast demon with the help of his lightning manipulation technique and lightning amplification technique. But how was he going to control the 100-beast demon's spells? Just as he was about to be injured, several blue saber projections flew towards the 100-beast demon. The 100-beast demon had just been severely injured, so it was probably still in a daze, so it didn't try to dodge. Thus, the saber projection sliced through the air and struck the 100-beast demon's body. An explosion of energy erupted, but the saber projection was unable to break through the 100-beast demon's spatial barrier. Blood was still gushing forth from the 100-beast demon's chest, but the wound soon began to clot up. Then, its flesh began to squirm as it began to regenerate at a speed similar to that of the blood tribe. Enlin stared at the 100-beast demon with a grave expression. Such terrifying regenerative abilities had put him in dire straits once again. The 100-beast demon also stared intently at Enlin, and a hint of fear flashed through its frosty eyes as a hesitant expression appeared on its face. Crackle! An arc of lightning shot toward Enlin. Enlin was also hesitant as he looked at the oncoming bolt of lightning. Should he use the lightning manipulation technique? This type of energy isn't very powerful. Is it just a test? In the blink of an eye, he chose to stand on the spot and make no attempt to resist. Arcs of lightning exploded, causing black smoke to rise from Enlin's body. Even his hair had been electrocuted into curls. Trash! Did you not eat enough? Why is your lightning technique so weak? Enlin cursed with a disdainful expression. Roar! The 100-beast demon was clearly enraged, and it bared its fangs as it roared. Void Dragon Divine Lightning. The 100-Beast Demon unleashed another powerful lightning technique. This time, it unleashed a bolt of golden divine lightning, which was even more fearsome than the Realm Dragon Divine Lightning. And Lin was ecstatic to see the golden lightning hurtling toward him. Did this idiot think that he wouldn't be able to use the lightning manipulation technique just because it was using a different lightning technique? It looked like the 100-Beast Demon's loss of consciousness was one of the keys to this situation. And Lin had to make good use of this powerful bolt of lightning. Lightning manipulation technique, lightning amplification technique. And then, right before the 100-Beast Demon's incredulous eyes, the golden divine lightning shuddered violently before radiating a scintillating golden light. It then suddenly turned around and struck toward the 100-Beast Demon's head like a bolt of lightning. Boom! A massive hole was instantly blasted into the 100-Beast Demon's head. For most living beings, the head was the most vulnerable part. Thus, Lin aimed his lightning strike at the 100-Beast Demon's head, which had the highest chance of killing it. Lin was greeted by the sight of the 100-Beast Demon's dazed expression. Its head was charred black, and an unknown liquid was seeping out of the hole. Most of its blood had even been instantly evaporated by the divine lightning. Is it dead? Lin's breathing was a little heavy. A few seconds later, he heard a sound that made his entire body tremble. This was the sound of flesh squirming. A faint crimson light emanated from the 100-Beast Demon's scale-covered body as its head began to regenerate. Lin's heart plummeted once again. It was still alive? What a terrifying life force. What do I do? Even though the 100-Beast Demon is not immune to its own attacks and is an idiot, it's still going to be extremely difficult to defeat. We can't continue like this. Use the realm-piercing nail. A voice as cold as the autumn moon sounded in Lin's mind. Lin's body shuddered as he realized that this was the voice of his evil-slaying sword. Little Xie, will the realm-piercing nail work? Isn't it used to break spell formations? It's a lot sharper than normal weapons, and it's also more sentient, but it won't be able to break through spatial barriers. Evil-slaying sword, shut up. If I give you a gun and you use it like a hammer, do you think it'll work? Lin, I'll teach you the manipulation mantra, memorize it well. The evil-slaying sword's domineering voice continued to sound in Lin's mind. Sentient through obsession, body and soul in unison, vital vibration, 9 meridians. The 100-Beast Demon's self-healing process was a little slow, perhaps due to the severe injury it had sustained to its head, but it was still rooted to the spot. Lin's eyes became extremely bright as a black mist began to emanate from his body. His aura climbed steadily as a terrifying power erupted from his body. Origin energy of the netherworld. A red light flashed, and a crimson nail appeared in the air. He looked at the 100-Beast Demon, which was still rooted to the spot, and a faint smile appeared on his face. Now, let me show you the true power of the realm-piercing nail. Chapter 373. Lin activated his cultivation method according to Little Xie's instructions, and an enormous amount of energy began to flow toward the realm-piercing nail. Ding! A crisp ringing erupted as the realm-piercing nail glowed with a bright red light. A peerlessly sharp light began to converge on the tip of the nail, making it appear as if it were a bloodthirsty star. Go! Lin pointed a finger, and the realm-piercing nail instantly disappeared. In the next instant, it appeared right in front of the 100-Beast Demon's face and stabbed forward in a frenzy. An extremely piercing screech reverberated through the air, sweeping up gale-force winds and surging vital energy. The dot of red light was only a thin layer away from the 100-Beast Demon's temple, but this thin layer felt like the longest distance. Even though the realm-piercing nail was peerlessly sharp, it was still severely hampered. The space around it tremored as thin cracks began to appear. The 100-Beast Demon's self-healing process was nearing completion, and it slowly opened its eyes. It had decided to tear Lin apart with its own 2 hands in its most insane revenge. However, the first thing it saw was the glowing red nail before it. In that instant it was struck by an extremely strong sense of peril. Gotcha! Something seemed to have shattered, following which a burst of excruciating pain shot through its body. Bam! The red nail transformed into a lethal thin line that punctured the 100-beast demon's head. The space around it twisted and trembled as it passed by, and it destroyed the 100-beast demon's head for a second time, inflicting a wound that was even more severe than if it had been struck by a bolt of golden lightning. The 100-beast demon didn't even have 3 seconds to recover its consciousness before it was severely wounded again and fell unconscious. The realm-piercing nail flew through the air at Lin's behest before flying toward the 100-beast demon's heart. Following a sharp screeching sound, a bloody mist erupted, and a massive hole appeared in the 100-beast demon's heart. Lin knew that this was not the time to stop. Instead, it was the perfect time to beat the 100-beast demon while it was down. The realm-piercing nail transformed into a series of dazzling crimson lines that relentlessly destroyed the 100-beast demon's body, not even sparing its wings. Bam bam bam, one crimson flower after another blossomed at a faster and faster rate. Lin could sense that the 100-beast demon's spatial barrier was getting weaker and weaker, and the realm-breaking nail was taking less and less time to pierce through space. Before long, the 100-beast demon was riddled with holes. However, he still didn't stop because there was still no sound from the secret room informing him of the end of the trial. Finally, at a certain moment, he could no longer sense the spatial layer. "Goodbye!" Lin yelled as his vision darkened. He half knelt on the ground and withdrew his origin energy of the netherworld. "Leave it to me, wolf!" Goodbye roared and pounced toward the 100-beast demon, pouncing on its body, which had already been riddled with holes by the realm-piercing nail. In that instant, the Chaos Origin sky-shattering claw drew lines of blue web-like trajectories, instantly tearing the broken body into thousands of pieces. Not only that, but Dubai also unleashed a flame spell technique to slowly burn the shredded body into a charred black. In the end, he didn't forget to flip the shredded body over to the other side before continuing to burn it. "Congratulations, you have successfully passed the trial of evil. The rewards will now be distributed." Bai Ling's voice suddenly sounded. Immediately afterward, Dubai and Lin were struck by a rush of dizziness before arriving in a pure white space. There was a black ball hovering at the center of the space. Looking at this familiar space, Lin plopped down onto the ground. The last string of tension in his heart finally loosened, and he panted heavily as he laughed. "Haha! I've finally passed this D***Ned trial. It's so exciting! I will never forget this brave adventure into the ruins. Woof!" Dubai was also lying on the ground with excitement on his face. "Hee hee! I'll never forget the sight of you slicing and frying the 100-beast demon like it was roasted meat." Bai Ling made her way over to Dubai with a hint of a smile on her face. Dubai's body trembled at the sight of Bai Ling, and he didn't dare to say anything. "Bai Ling, it's time for you to fulfill your promise." A smug smile appeared on Lin's face. A warm smile appeared on Bai Ling's face as she made her way over to Lin. "What's the hurry? We haven't even done the foreplay yet, and you're already getting to the main point?" Lin was completely unmoved by her seductive words. He looked at her with a calm expression. "What foreplay? Can you cut to the chase and get straight to the point?" Bai Ling heaved a forlorn sigh. "It's not that I don't want to get straight to the point. It's just that you're a little strange. You'll steal my information, and you'll steal my other inheritances as well. Wouldn't that be a huge loss for me? Alright, what do you think we should do now?" Lin thought back to when he had almost cracked the black ball and received half of the inheritance's information in one go, and he nodded in agreement. Light converged on Bai Ling's palm, and she unleashed a restriction on Lin's bloodline and cultivation method inheritance. Only then did she point her finger toward Lin's forehead with a sense of relief. Boom! Countless pieces of information flowed into Lin's body before being deeply imprinted into his mind. Lin's eyes lit up, but Bai Ling's beautiful features paled slightly as cold sweat began to appear on her forehead. Bai Ling discovered that her information was no longer under her control. Instead, it flowed toward Lin's body of its own accord. This was a very familiar scene to her. However, Bai Ling didn't choose to forcibly cut off the information this time. Instead, she did her best to suppress the power of the information transmission in case the black ball couldn't handle it. Everything else was just going to take its course, the inheritance concluded. Lin didn't say anything, as if he was digesting this massive amount of information. After a while, he turned to Bai Ling with a peculiar expression. So you're a purple star cultivator who has transformed into a different life form? Bai Ling knew that this was part of the information Lin had received, and she nodded to confirm her identity. Lin's brows furrowed. What happened to the purple star civilization? I can't tell you. I'll die if I do. Bai Ling's eyelashes trembled as an expression of undisguised grief appeared on her face. I'm going to bestow upon you the spatial condensation inheritance, the mechanical engineering inheritance, and the shadow demon inheritance. These 3 inheritances are all top-notch inheritances from the Research Institute. You've passed those trials, so this is what you deserve. Bai Ling didn't dwell on this topic as she pointed toward Lin. My Dabai and Xiao Hong fought alongside me, so they should also receive inheritances. Lin asked. Bai Ling smiled. Don't worry, they'll also receive inheritances, and they'll definitely be the most suitable for them. Thus, Lin received 3 more inheritances. The usefulness of these 3 inheritances greatly broadened his horizons, and his entire body was filled with excitement. The spatial condensation inheritance involved the use of the laws of ice, the shadow demon inheritance involved the use of spatial perception, and it could even be used in conjunction with the shadow tiger from his 6 strikes of the war god. As for the mechanical engineering inheritance, he could try giving his Gundams some engine oil from now on. He shook Xiao Hong awake, and she received the fate inheritance from Bai Ling. Bai Ling said that this inheritance would be more effective when consumed together with photosynthesis and Xiao Hong's golden crow inheritance. Dabai received the dog food inheritance. That's right, it really was an inheritance on how to make dog food. After receiving the inheritance, Dabai was completely dumbstruck. Lin, who knew the truth, was even more furious than Dabai. At this moment, the system suddenly let out a ding-dong sound. Chapter 374. The system, which had been silent for a long time, suddenly flashed again. Lin opened the system in his mind to find that the Special Missions tab was flashing. Special Mission. Detected that host has completely absorbed all of the information from the 88th Purple Star Research Institute. Now assigning Special Mission. Persuade the mainframe of the Research Institute, Bai Ling, to leave the White Cloud Lake and return to the continent. Mission success. Receive 1 special spell technique lottery ticket. Mission failure. Impotence for 3 years. Mission time limit, 6 hours. Note: this mission cannot be rejected. Lin's lips twitched as he looked down at his crotch with a gloomy expression. Impotence for 3 years? That didn't seem like a big deal. What did he need this metal rod for? He had already wasted 20 years, so he might as well waste another 3 years, right? With that in mind, he felt a lot more at ease, and Lin blinked in confusion. There seemed to be something wrong with this train of thought. Holy F***ck. This was a matter of pride as a man. A real man was someone who could be flexible and flexible. If he couldn't even do that, then what kind of man would he be? With that in mind, Lin instantly felt like the punishment for this mission was extremely heinous. He definitely couldn't fail this mission. You've all received the inheritance, right? Hurry up and go, I need to rest. Bai Ling massaged her brows in exhaustion before issuing an eviction order. Wait, what's with my dog food inheritance? Is it discriminating against dogs? Woof. Dabai protested with an expression of grief and indignation. You'll know how delicious dog food is when you actually make it. Bai Ling looked at Dabai and was not enraged by Dabai's accusation. Instead, a warm smile appeared on her face. Wait! Anlin also extended a hand and yelled, Big Sister Bai, I think we can talk. He was completely exhausted and could only lie on Dabai's back in a feeble manner. Even so, there was a scorching light in his eyes as he looked at Bai Ling. Bai Ling faltered slightly upon seeing Anlin's expression before a smile appeared on her face. Mr. Anlin, is there anything else we need to talk about? All of the information regarding the purple star is in your mind, so I can't reveal anything else to you. It's not that kind of thing. I just want to talk to you about life and talk about ideals, Anlin said with a fawning expression. Bai Ling. Dabai turned to look at Anlin with an expression that said, I've misjudged you. Hurry up and say what you have to say. Also, I don't like relationships between older women and younger men, Bai Ling said in a cold voice. Anlin's heart sank. Love between an older woman and a younger man? Just where did this woman's imagination go? I just wanted to have a casual chat and she thought that I was interested in her? Besides, Anlin wasn't interested in a relationship between an older sister and a younger brother with an age difference of more than 10,000 years. I just wanted to say that since I've already inherited all of the Purple Star's information, there's no need for you to stay here forever, right? Anlin asked in a probing manner. Information isn't everything. There's also bloodlines, cultivation methods, knowledge, and other inheritances. Bai Ling squinted her eyes and bent down to place her beautiful face right in front of Anlin's. You want me to leave this place? Anlin looked at Bai Ling's face, which was right in front of his eyes. Her smooth skin appeared as if it were made of white porcelain under the illumination of the white light. That's right. I want you to leave this place. Anlin had no intention of hiding this from her. This world is so big, don't you want to explore it? Oh, I've already explored this world 10,000 years ago, so I'm not interested now. Bai Ling's breath smelled like orchids. At such a close distance, her eyelashes fluttered and her eyes shimmered, making Anlin feel very embarrassed. But this world has already changed a lot. It's becoming more and more beautiful and vibrant. There are many extraordinary and talented figures, many unique snacks, and many beautiful songs. Anlin continued to offer words of persuasion. But even after tens of thousands of years, there's one place that hasn't changed at all. Bai Ling's eyes dimmed. Not only was she not encouraged by Anlin's words, but she seemed even more disinterested. Anlin immediately knew that Bai Ling was recalling her hometown. The Purple Star civilization was different from the Kingdom of the Nine States. To put it more accurately, the people of the Purple Star civilization and the people of the Kingdom of the Nine States belonged to two different races. Bai Ling was a member of the Purple Star tribe. Her entire tribe had been wiped out, and she had lived alone for over 10,000 years. What kind of faith did she rely on to survive in this research lab for such a long time? What was she trying to achieve by persevering here? Big Sister Bai, what are your dreams? Or do you have a goal? Anlin felt like if he knew what Bai Ling lived for, he would definitely be able to convince her to leave this place, to spread the light of the Purple Star civilization across this continent. Bai Ling paused momentarily before continuing, and to remind them not to forget about the Purple Star. Then did you know that there's a Purple Star state in the Kingdom of the Nine States that has changed drastically after receiving the inheritance of your civilization? Anlin asked in a slow voice. A hint of light finally flashed through Bai Ling's eyes upon hearing this. The Purple Star state? I heard about it from a certain trial taker in the past. What has it become now? I'm not telling you. If you want to know, you'll have to go and see for yourself. Anlin replied with a serious expression. Bai Ling. Golden Crow, Mirror Fusion, Dark God, Spatial Congealing, Shadow Demon, Fate Machine, Mechanical Engineering, Divine Food, Demonic Een, Myriad. These are the 10 inheritances of the Research Institute, right? And Lin digested the information in his mind before continuing. Who would have thought that my beast pet team and I would take up 8 of them? The other 2 have already been taken by other trial takers a long time ago. In that case, the main inheritance and the main information have all been passed down, and the restriction placed on you by the Research Institute has most likely been completely lifted. As for the other ordinary inheritances, you can test the trial takers along the way. There's no need for you to stay here forever. It'll definitely be a lot more efficient if you take the initiative. At least you'll be able to enjoy the scenery along the way. That's definitely better than staying in this lifeless place, right? The information in my mind also mentioned that this research institute is a moving fortress? I don't know the specifics, but that means that you can move the research institute wherever you want, and you won't have to worry about finding a trial venue. Lin patiently explained as Bai Ling listened with a smile. I feel like you're more concerned about whether or not I'm going to explore the continent. Why are you so concerned about me? Bai Ling suddenly asked. That's because we're friends. Lin replied with a straight face. Friends. A smile appeared on Bai Ling's face, and she was like a flawless white lotus that had blossomed soundlessly. She thought to herself for a moment before finally nodding. You're actually quite right. I also want to visit the Purple Star State. You guys can leave first so I can think about it. Don't. Traveling is only fun when you say you want to. Lin spoke in a panicked voice. What a joke. The mission time limit was 6 hours. If Bai Ling thought about it, Lin would have to be impotent for 3 years. You want to leave just like that? Bai Ling's heart stirred. That's right, I want to leave just like that. Lin held onto Bai Ling's soft and delicate hand and nodded firmly. Bai felt like he had accepted the inheritance of dog food for nothing. He was clearly already stuffed to death from eating dog food, so what was the point of accepting the inheritance? Lin's words about rescuing the imprisoned princess made Bai extremely excited for a very long time. Now, Bai finally understood that Big Brother wasn't lying to him. However, the princess was Bai Ling. Lin didn't think that his attempt to trick Bai into coming with him would come true. Chapter 375. At the summit of the Cloud Mountain, Lin Junjun had drawn an extremely lifelike evil dragon onto her canvas. The evil dragon lay in the middle of the mountain range, and beneath its sinister black claws was a man with a bloody nose and a swollen face. The woman smiled sweetly. She held a paintbrush in her hand and painted the scene of the man being beaten until he cried. She was very happy, as if she was doing something very interesting. Who told you to bully me? Do you know the consequences now? Lin Junjun glared at the man in the painting with a vicious expression. Soon, she recalled what had happened in the Purple Star ruins. He's been in there for over 7 days already, and he still hasn't come out. How could he be in there for so long? Could it be that he's met with some misfortune? The woman thought with concern. After a while, she harumphed with disdain. It's better if he dies in there. Otherwise, he'll keep coming back to piss me off. White Cloud Lake. Jiang Anlin was lying on the grass, looking up at the white clouds in the blue sky. Lin has been in there for 7 days, which has broken the record for the longest time spent in the ruins. Of course, those trial takers who haven't returned yet don't count. I wonder how much information Lin will bring out this time. Will Master Tianyu still dare to accept the information he brings back? Jiang Anlin couldn't help but gloat at the thought of Master Tianyu's tearful expression. He was also looking forward to what was going to happen next. Huge waves began to appear on the vast white cloud lake. A series of bubbles began to rise from the bottom of the lake, and the ground began to tremor. What's going on? Jiang Anlin stood up with furrowed brows as he looked at the surging surface of the lake. Immediately afterward, A huge splash erupted from the surface of the lake as two figures leaped out of the lake. Huge waves surged and the earth quaked. A white liquid began to converge from the bottom of the lake toward a certain white figure in the sky. Then, it began to shrink, as if it were a mustard seed. Boom! It was as if something was about to collapse, or as if something had been hollowed out. The earth began to cave in, and the vast white cloud lake also began to cave in. Heaven and earth instantly began to rumble and roar. Jiang Anlin's mouth gaped open as he stared at the scenes unfolding before his eyes with incredulity. He raised his head and saw a familiar figure riding a dog, as well as an unfamiliar figure. It was a very beautiful woman in a white dress, holding a black bead in her hand. The liquid-like objects from before had entered the peculiar black bead. The 88th Purple Star Research Institute has been successfully absorbed into the main core. Bai Ling held the black bead in her hand with a disconsolate expression on her face. Anlin also had a smile on his face as he congratulated her from the bottom of his heart. Congratulations, big sister Bai. With this, you'll be able to have more freedom when it comes to choosing a successor. A faint smile appeared on Bai Ling's face. Right at this moment, a middle-aged man with dragon horns on his head flew over in a panic. The clown turned back into the little monkey and sat on Anlin's shoulder. Anlin, my little friend, what's going on? Jiang Anlin didn't even know where to start. He stared at the two people in front of him in amazement. Haha, brother Jiang, don't make a fuss. Anlin chuckled at the sight of them and continued, Come, let me introduce you to each other. This is the mastermind of the 88th Purple Star Research Institute, Bai Ling. This is the guardian of the White Cloud Lake, Jiang Anlin. A warm smile appeared on Bai Ling's face as she nodded. Hello. Jiang Anlin's eyes almost popped out of his head upon hearing Anlin's introduction. You're the mastermind of the Purple Star Research Institute? That's right. Bai Ling was like a gentle older sister as she replied with sincerity. Jiang Anlin clasped a hand over his chest and didn't know what kind of expression to put on his face. My God! This world was simply too crazy. Jiang Anlin had initially thought that it would already be very impressive if Anlin could bring back some information from the Purple Star Research Institute. But now, he even brought the Motherf * King mastermind of the Purple Star Research Institute with him. Then, Mr. Anlin. Jiang Anlin pointed at the sunken white cloud lake and the cracked ground around it with an uncertain expression. Is this also because of the Purple Star Research Institute? That's right, Bai Ling has already stored the Purple Star Research Institute into her bead. She's going to leave this place soon. Anlin nodded. In other words, you can also retire now, brother Jiang. From now on, you'll be free to go wherever you want. Jiang Anlin blinked his bright eyes as Anlin's words rang in his ears. The Purple Star Research Institute was gone? He could retire now? My God, am I still living in a dream? Jiang Anlin let out a strange cry as he bit down viciously on his finger. Splurt! Blood splattered all over his face. He chuckled like an idiot as he felt the genuine pain. Anlin noticed the astonishment on Bai Ling's face and explained with a resigned expression. My friend might have been a little traumatized, please don't take it to heart. He's the person sent by the Celestial Court to guard the Research Institute, right? Something like this must have changed his life a lot, so I can understand if he's a little traumatized. Bai Ling nodded. She knew that the Celestial Court would definitely be very interested in the results of the Purple Star Research Institute and would collect all kinds of information related to the Purple Star Research Institute. This was a way for her to accept the Purple Star inheritance, so she wouldn't mind as long as she didn't interfere with the trial takers who obtained the Purple Star inheritance. Jiang Anlin's emotions gradually calmed down as he looked at Bai Ling with a scorching light in his eyes. Fairy Bai Ling, would you be willing to come to the summit of the Cloud Mountain and have a chat with Master Tianyu? If you choose to cooperate with the Celestial Court, you'll definitely be able to obtain benefits that will satisfy you. Bai Ling shook her head. No need, I know what the Celestial Court needs. All of the information regarding the 88th Purple Star Research Institute is with Lin, you can just exchange it with him. Jiang Anlin drew a sharp intake of breath as he stared at Lin with shock etched on his face. His heart was in turmoil. Lin had all of the information regarding the 88th Purple Star Research Institute? Did he F*King take Bai Ling as his Dao partner? What the F*CK? Bad *SS. Bad *SS. Jiang Anlin's dragon horns trembled with excitement as he stared at Lin with reverence on his face. Lin was oblivious to Jiang Anlin's thoughts as he joined his fists in salute. Ms. Bai Ling is going on a journey, so I'll send her off and contact you after a while. Sure, have fun. Jiang Anlin replied in a stammering voice. Who wants you to send her off? Bai Ling pursed her lips with a nonchalant expression as she transformed into a streak of white light and flew away. Big Sister Bai, let me express my gratitude. Wait for me. Lin was very enthusiastic and didn't seem dejected by Bai Ling's words. He leaped onto Dabai's back and chased after the streak of white light. At the summit of the Cloud Mountain, Lin Junjun had finally completed her work of torturing a scumbag. Not long after that, she felt the spiritual energy of heaven and earth fluctuating, and even the mountain itself was trembling slightly. Did something happen? She recalled that a certain person was still at the Purple Star Research Institute and couldn't help but become a little concerned. So be it, I'll use the voice transmission talisman to ask Jiang Anlin about the situation. She dialed the voice transmission talisman and asked, Jiang Anlin, is there any movement from the White Cloud Lake? There's been a lot of movement, Jiang Anlin's stammering voice sounded. What movement? Lin Junjun's heart jolted. Lin came out from the ruins and emptied out all of the information within the research institute before escaping with the mastermind, Bai Ling. Lin Junjun. Kacha! The delicate brush was once again broken into two pieces. Chapter 376. The sun shone down upon the lush forest, creating a mottled halo of light. A light breeze blew past, and the trees rustled as birds chirped joyfully. A white figure trod over the soft soil, humming an ancient folk song as she strolled through the tranquil mountains. Big Sister Bai, we're going in the wrong direction. We're going to the Buddhist kingdom, not the kingdom of the 9 states. Lin couldn't help but say as he rode on Dabai's back. The woman turned to look at Lin with a hint of a smile in her eyes. I go wherever I want to go. Why do you insist on following me? Her voice was as gentle as cotton wool. I'm just worried that you might encounter some danger or become acclimatized to the environment after staying at home for too long. Lin patted Dabai's backside and sped up to walk alongside Bai Ling. Bai Ling raised her chin slightly and took a deep breath of fresh air. As she basked in the warm sunlight shining down from between the trees, a vibrant smile gradually appeared on her face. It was as if all the snow and ice had melted and a spring breeze had descended upon them. Dabai couldn't help but transmit his voice. Big Brotherin, I'm starting to believe that Bai Ling is a beautiful princess now. Lin transmitted his voice in reply. When have I ever lied to you? It's been a long time, but this world is still so beautiful. I like it. Bai Ling looked at the plants, smelled the fragrance of the soil, listened to the chirping of the birds, and basked in the warmth of the sun. All of this intoxicated her, and she couldn't help but praise it. Lin could tell that Bai Ling wasn't acclimatized to the environment. Roar! A mutant beast with the head of a tiger and the tail of a snake suddenly leaped out from the forest and pounced toward Bai Ling like lightning. Lightning was already flashing on Lin's fingertips upon seeing this. Following a loud noise, the exotic beast with a strong head and a weak tail crashed into an invisible barrier. Lin stared at Bai Ling with shock on his face. He had only detected an extremely faint vital energy fluctuation before this invisible barrier appeared. He knew that this barrier wasn't some low-level spell technique like a wall of air. Instead, it was an extremely advanced spatial technique. From this alone, Unlin knew that as long as Bai Ling didn't court death, no one on this continent could bully her. As long as she wasn't acclimatized, he wouldn't be the one to protect her if she encountered any danger, so he could leave her to her own devices. I don't have the habit of killing small animals. Hurry up and scram. Bai Ling glanced at the tiger-head snake-tail beast, which had crashed into the spatial barrier too quickly and was already dizzy. The tiger-headed, snake-tailed beast felt relieved and hurriedly ran away. I heard that the meat from the tiger-head snake-tail beast's waist is especially delicious, Unlin suddenly said. The space began to distort silently. The tiger-headed snake-tailed beast was dead. The flames began to rise. The barbecue rack was 1 meter wide, and the white and tender meat was skewered on steel wires. Unlin continued to sprinkle ingredients on the meat. The flames crackled, and the sparkling meat slowly warmed up. A rich fragrance began to waft in the air. Bai Ling sat on the little stool that Unlin had pulled out from his storage ring. She rested her chin on her hand as she gazed at the delicious and alluring roast meat with a dazed look in her eyes. I've seen this dish in a restaurant in the Stone Dragon State. It's called salt and pepper god's waist, and it's made from the waist of a tiger-head snake-tail beast. Hence, when I saw this tiger-head snake-tail beast, I knew that I couldn't miss it. Unlin couldn't help but smack his lips as he gazed at the roast meat. He couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of Bai Ling's entranced expression. How long has it been since you last ate? I haven't eaten for 10,726 years, Bai Ling replied honestly. Unlin, aren't you hungry after not eating for so long? Unlin asked after a moment of thought. After reaching the return to void stage, everything in this world can be used as energy, so why would I be hungry? Bai Ling replied with a smile. Unlin also smiled. But eating is the most joyful thing in life. It would be a shame not to eat for 10,000 years. He used his energy sword to slice the fragrant roast meat into a mesh before sprinkling some spirit ingredients onto it before handing it to the woman beside him. Have a taste. Bai Ling accepted the roast meat from Unlin, and a dazed expression flashed through her eyes as she inhaled the fragrant aroma wafting through the air. She brought the meat to her mouth and bit off a small piece of hot and fragrant meat before slowly chewing on it. The flavor of the roast meat was superb, and it instantly flowed through her taste bud. Her eyes narrowed slightly as a slight smile appeared on her face. Looks like my roast meat is pretty good. Unlin smiled as he handed the second portion of roast meat to the drooling Dabai. Bai Ling looked at Unlin and nodded. This is the best roast meat I've eaten in 10,726 years. Unlin's lips twitched. Can't you be more sincere with your praise? Bai Ling's brows perked up slightly. I haven't eaten meat in 10,726 years, but I'm making an exception for your roast meat. Isn't that enough to make you happy? Unlin pondered this for a moment. From a different perspective, this really did seem to give him a sense of accomplishment. Bai Ling bit off another piece of roast meat and nodded. You're right. Eating is the most joyful thing in life. A smile appeared on her face as she spoke. Her eyes were clear, and a few strands of hair brushed against her rosy cheeks. She didn't even bother to lift them up as she continued to nibble on the roast meat. Unlin couldn't help but sigh with emotion at the sight of the eccentric Bai Ling smiling like a pure little girl. As expected, one should go out more often after staying in the house for too long. Where are you going next? I'm preparing to return to the Celestial Court, Unlin suddenly said. I'm not telling you, Bai Ling replied. Unlin, then leave me a voice transmission talisman. You can come find me if you need anything, Unlin continued. I won't. We'll meet again if we're fated to, Bai Ling replied calmly. Unlin, she was so gentle and adorable just a few minutes ago. Why was she suddenly so cold and aloof now? Or could it be that she's doing something that I can't interfere with? Is that why she's keeping her mouth shut? And Lin couldn't figure this out, so he didn't think too much about it. After a while, 2 people and a dog finally finished eating the waste of the tiger-head snake-tail beast. There's no need to send me off now. Let's part ways here. Bai Ling glanced at An Lin with an expressionless face, as if she had repressed all of her emotions. An Lin thought about it for a moment. There probably wasn't enough time to get back to the Celestial Court, so it was indeed time to part ways. Take care, Ms. Bai Ling. If you need anything in the future, you can come find me at the Celestial Court. He waved a hand. Bai Ling nodded before transforming into a streak of white light and disappearing into the clouds in the blink of an eye. The 2 of them fell silent as they looked at Bai Ling's departing figure. Big brother and your princess ran away. Woof! Dabai suddenly exclaimed. An Lin couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on Dabai. Instead, he turned to look at his system. The Special Mission tab had already indicated that he had completed the mission and could now receive his reward. This was a lucky draw, and it was a special spell technique lucky draw at that. Thinking back, the last lucky draw was a magic treasure lucky draw, and this time, he finally had a spell technique lucky draw. An Lin first used the water condensation technique to wash his hands. Then, he prayed to Senior White for his blessings in his heart before getting down to business. He looked at the system's lucky draw wheel. There were over 100 spell techniques on it, all of which were densely distributed within the grids of the wheel. All of them were enshrouded by a thin layer of mist, making it impossible to see what kind of spell techniques they were. So be it. It was already good enough that he had obtained a special spell technique. He didn't really mind. Let the lucky draw begin. An Lin yelled in his mind. Immediately afterward, the big lucky draw wheel in his mind began to spin at high speed. Stop! The speed of the lucky draw wheel became slower and slower. In the end, it stopped at a certain grid, upon which a brilliant light erupted. Chapter 377. An Lin looked at the screen that the pointer was pointing at, and the mist slowly dissipated to reveal the name of the cultivation method. An Lin's mouth gaped open in disbelief as he looked at the cultivation method. Whoosh! The system's spell technique transformed into a streak of light and merged into An Lin's body. Make You Cry spell technique. One-directional emotional attack spell technique. The target will fall into a state of inextricable grief. The target will be able to resist to a certain extent if their cultivation base is too high. Note: this spell technique can only be used once per day and is ineffective against targets of the Dao integration stage. An Lin stood rooted to the spot and didn't know what to say. How could there be a spell technique with such a strange name in this world? Wasn't it easy to make someone cry? All he had to do was beat the crap out of him. Big brother and what's wrong, Woof? Dabai asked upon seeing the peculiar expression on An Lin's face. An Lin looked at the huge white dog beside him, and a peculiar smile appeared on his face. Dabai shuddered and stumbled back a couple of steps. Big brother and what are you looking at? Dabai, how long has it been since the last time you cried? An Lin asked curiously. I'm a mighty divine dog, so of course I won't cry easily. I've never cried even once since I was born in my mother's womb. Dabai raised his head and a proud smile appeared on his face, creating a majestic sight to behold. Immediately afterward, for some reason, he suddenly recalled the scene where he and his father went to a brothel and were brutally beaten by his mother. He recalled Qin Hua's parting words. He recalled the despair he felt when he received the inheritance of dog food. He recalled the sorrow of the autumn leaves falling from the tree and burying themselves into the earth. All of his emotions erupted forth like a torrential flood. Dabai let loose a woof before howling in tears. An Lin's eyes lit up. He felt as if he had discovered a new continent. The Make You Cry spell technique was activated in an extremely secretive manner. There weren't even any vital energy fluctuations, and it was directly applied to Dabai's emotions. Furthermore, there was a very short interval between the spell technique's activation and its effects. It was almost instantaneous. This was a godly technique. Big brother N. Wah. What did you do to me, Wah? Dabai wiped his tears and looked at Enlin with his big woof eyes. He didn't look dignified at all. Well, it's just your first time. Is there a need to cry like this? Enlin gently stroked Dabai's head. Big brother N, you've gone too far. What did I do wrong? Sob, big baddie. Woof. Dabai felt so sad and wanted to cry. After hearing Enlin's words, it recalled how Enlin had treated it in the past. It couldn't help but feel sad and cried harder and harder. Enlin's pocket quivered slightly, and then there was no more movement. Xiao Hong, who had just woken up, heard the unsightly conversation between a human and a dog. She was so scared that she quickly closed her eyes. She even forgot her fixed habit of singing loudly every time she woke up, afraid that she would offend her master. Enlin had taken Dabai's first time? This was way too terrifying. Even dogs weren't spared. Was Enlin finally going to lay his hands on his beast pet? From a human to an animal, then from an animal to a plant? The more she thought about it, the more terrified Xiao Hong became. She trembled uncontrollably in Enlin's pocket, and she couldn't help but develop a deep concern for her future. Dabai cried for a dozen or so minutes before he finally stopped himself from crying. Enlin was also feeling a little guilty about taking Dabai's first time away. He didn't think that the make-you-cry spell technique would be so powerful. Dabai was clearly of the same cultivation base as him, but he had been forced to cry for over 10 minutes by Enlin's spell technique. I'm sorry, Dabai. You've been crying for over 10 minutes now. I'll make you smile 10 times more in the future. I'll make you happy. Enlin apologized. Xiao Hong heaved a sigh of relief in Enlin's pocket. It looked like her master wasn't the kind of scumbag who wouldn't take responsibility for what he had done. However, Dabai clapped its paws in protest. No, you took my first time, so you have to compensate me with an immortal pill. Woof. Xiao Hong's expression was one of shock upon hearing this. It thought to itself, Dabai's first time is only worth 1 immortal pill? I want at least 3. Tui. Wrong. If master were to do such a beastly thing, I'll definitely burn him to death. I'll let the light of the sun purify master's evil. Enlin's lips twitched upon hearing Dabai's insatiable words. He raised his fist and was about to teach Dabai another lesson. At this moment, he suddenly felt a burst of heat in his pocket, and he couldn't help but stop his outburst. Xiao Hong, what's wrong? He pulled out Xiao Hong and asked with a concerned expression. However, the little red flower didn't react in the slightest and remained motionless. Enlin blinked and poked at the soft red flower petals. After discovering that there was no reaction, he put it back into his pocket. Was he still asleep? Was the heat in his pocket just a hallucination? Xiao Hong heaved a sigh of relief in his pocket, rejoicing that he had just escaped a calamity. In the end, Enlin still succumbed to Dabai's tyranny and agreed to give Dabai an 8th grade immortal pill after returning to the Celestial Court as compensation for causing Dabai to shed precious tears. Initially, Enlin had planned to beat up Dabai and use violence to solve this problem. However, he soon discovered to his dismay that the after effects of using the origin energy of the netherworld were still present. In his exhausted state, he couldn't even withstand a single slap from Dabai. Seeing as he still had to ride Dabai in the future, he could only reluctantly agree to Dabai's request. Due to the fact that time was of the essence, Enlin also pushed back his meeting with Lin Junjun. Thus, Dabai flew all the way back to the Celestial Court with Enlin on his back. After returning to Xiaoxian United University, many of his friends came to him to ask him about his experiences in the past 10 days. Enlin briefly explained to them what had happened in the ruins, but he didn't go into detail about the fact that the Purple Star Research Institute had already moved. After all, he had a feeling that the fewer people who knew about this, the better. After that, It was time for him to rest and recuperate as well as try to master the inheritances he had just obtained. The Mist Immortal Technique, the Shou Yang True Dragon Mantra, the Spatial Congealment Inheritance, the Mechanical Engineering Inheritance, the Shadow Demon Inheritance, the Make You Cry Technique. No one would believe him if he told them that he had so many cultivation techniques to try out. Early in the morning, Unlin transformed into a white cloud and mist and floated to the full moon mountain, where he meditated under the morning light. At noon, Unlin activated the Shou Yang True Dragon Mantra and struck the tall mountain face with his fists, creating a series of resounding booms that shook the entire mountain range. In the evening, Unlin used the Spatial Congealment Technique to solidify a large expanse of golden clouds around the university's perimeter into a soft, cottony substance. After that, he and Su Xiaolan would leisurely lie down on the clouds and chat about the interesting things that happened at the university or the problems that they faced in their cultivation. At night, Unlin would immerse himself in the darkness before slowly leaping out from another space like a ghost. When he had nothing to do, he would also apply engine oil to the Gundams to ensure that he didn't slack off in his professional knowledge. He was also working hard to improve his proficiency in the Make You Cry technique. He made bugs cry, he made little foxes cry, he made little birds cry, and even Xiao Hong was killed by this technique. That day, Xiao Hong, who was in her little red flower form, cried so much that her entire windowsill was soaked. However, the next morning, Unlin discovered that his hair had been burnt to a crisp. In the end, he could only go to Do Shui Palace and beg Yi Shi to refine a hair growth pill for him. Time flew by, and after half a month, Unlin had already mastered all of his newly obtained technique. Unlin woke up early in the morning with a bright light in his eyes. He sensed that his body was brimming with energy, and he was both excited and nervous. Dabai, Xiao Hong, and Xiao Chou also stood quietly in their rooms, waiting for Unlin. Su Xiaolan, Xianyuan Qing, Su Qianyun, and the others all climbed up the full moon mountain with anticipation in their eyes. Unlin opened the door to his room with a smile. Let's go. Today is the day I reach soul formation stage. Chapter 378. Over a dozen students had already arrived at the summit of the full moon mountain. Su Xiaolan, Xianyuan Qing, Su Qianyun, Lu Qianhuan, Luo Ziping, Miao Tian, Zhong Yongyan, Sun Xinglian, Yao Mingxi, Yao Xiu, Hu Guan, Tang Shimen, Lu Debao, Zhao Huayin and Lin's friends immediately gathered at the summit of the full moon mountain after receiving the news. There was also an extraordinarily handsome man in a white robe standing proudly at the summit with a sword hanging from his waist. He was Unlin's homeroom teacher, the Flying Sword God. Unlin could only rely on his own strength to transcend his tribulation. No one could help him. His friends and teacher were only here to prevent any unforeseen circumstances other than his tribulation transcendence, as well as to give Unlin some moral encouragement. The fact that Unlin had reached the soul formation stage was still a secret. If news of this were to spread, it would probably cause an uproar in the entire school. At that time, the full moon mountain would probably be filled with tens of thousands of students. Thus, he could only choose to keep a low profile and only let the dozen or so people he was close to know about this. Back then, Unlin and I were still evenly matched. Who would have thought that he would reach the soul formation stage today? There was a melancholic expression on Lu Debao's pitch-black face. People change. Even dogs change. Zhao Huayin looked up at the sky and sighed. Lu Qianhuan giggled. Who would have thought that the first person to reach soul formation stage in our school would be Unlin? I'm so ashamed. Tang Shimen rolled his eyes. Why don't I see any shame in your expression? But as a senior, I'm really ashamed. Back then, he was only at the Zeroth stage Dao body when he entered the school. I even advised him to work hard. Who would have thought that he would become the first student to reach the soul formation stage 3 years later? There was a nostalgic expression on Xianyuan Cheng's face. But isn't Unlin not a half-step soul formation stage cultivator yet? How is he going to progress to the soul formation stage now? Su Qianyun's face was filled with confusion. Zhong Yongyan waved his fan as if he had seen through everything. Who is Big Brother and how can he be judged by common sense? You're only at the 10th stage Dao body, yet you're able to pummel cultivators at the return to void pinnacle stage. I wouldn't be surprised even if you directly transcend your tribulation and advance to the return to void stage. That's right, that's great God and we're talking about. Miao Tian's face was filled with admiration. Big Brother and is #1 in the world. Yao Mingxi, Hu Guan, and all the other diehard fans yelled in unison. Su Xiaolan's beautiful eyes looked at the winding bluestone path and saw a figure in a red robe. A beautiful smile blossomed on her face. And Lin is here. Everyone turned to look at the path upon hearing this. Sure enough, they saw An Lin in a red robe with a monkey, a dog, and an extremely beautiful young woman behind him. An Lin walked to the top of the mountain and was a little dazed at the sight of everyone gathered together. Then, he bowed with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry to have kept you guys waiting. We all came early. Classmate An Lin, you're treating us like outsiders. Flying Sword God looked at An Lin with an expression of gratification and anticipation. Say, Classmate An Lin, why are you wearing a red robe? I've never seen you wear it before. Su Qianyun blinked her bright blue eyes curiously. This isn't a wedding, why are you wearing this? Do you want me to hang a red embroidered ball on your chest? Su Xiaolan rolled her eyes with disdain. An Lin puffed out his chest with a smug smile. What do you know? Transcending the tribulation to the soul formation stage is a major event, so of course I have to wear something festive. Oh! A brilliant light flashed through Su Qianyun's eyes as an expression of, I've learned something, appeared on her face. Big Brother and is so wise. Miao Tian and the others yelled with excitement. Xiao Hong. An Lin called out to the young woman behind him. The young woman nodded and transformed into a streak of red light that shot toward An Lin's head. Finally, she transformed into a little red flower that swayed in the wind above his head. Flying Sword God was curious. Classmate An Lin, what's the meaning of this? An Lin smiled lightly. Teacher, this is called auspicious, red luck. Flying Sword God. Hu Guan, Yao Mingxi, and the others yelled with excitement. You can even think of this, Big Brother and is so awesome. Su Xiaolan slapped her forehead. This is a soul formation stage tribulation transcendence. Can you be a little more serious? Lu Qianhuan couldn't help but burst into laughter upon seeing this. She pulled out her phone and took a photo of An Lin as a souvenir. Flying Sword God was indeed a man who had seen much of the world. He quickly calmed down in the face of An Lin's bizarre behavior and asked with a solemn expression, Classmate An Lin, you'll need to transcend 49 bolts of tribulation lightning to reach soul formation stage. No one can help you during this period, you'll have to rely on yourself. If you succeed, you'll reach soul formation stage, but if you fail, you'll die. Are you ready? Everyone put away their frivolous expressions upon hearing this, and turned to look at An Lin nervously. Tribulation transcendence was no small matter. Even though the soul formation stage tribulation was the lowest level of tribulation lightning, the survival rate was still less than half. The prodigies of the various sects would have a much higher chance of successfully transcending tribulation, but there were still many who failed to do so. Hence, this tribulation lightning was also very dangerous for An Lin. I'm ready, we can begin at any time, An Lin replied with a calm smile. If he wanted to continue forward and pursue the path to immortality, he definitely couldn't back down now. Flying Sword God nodded and turned to the students around him. Let's move 1,000 feet away from here so we don't interfere with classmate An Lin's tribulation transcendence. Everyone began to retreat upon hearing this. An Lin, you can do it. Su Xiaolan looked deeply into An Lin's eyes. Her words instantly stirred up the emotions of the students and friends on the field. Classmate An Lin, you can definitely do it. Big Brotherin, you can do it! Big Brotherin, we'll watch you torture the tribulation lightning. And Lin's heart was filled with warmth as he looked at everyone's words of encouragement and anticipation. Dabai, Xiao Chou, and Xiao Hong also left his side. If the tribulation transcendence was interfered with by any external forces, the tribulation lightning would become even more terrifying. Even formations and talismans wouldn't be able to be used. And Lin will be waiting for your successful return. Su Xiaolan's pleasant voice sounded once again from 1,000 feet away. And Lin took a deep breath as he looked at the green figure whose hands were already clenched into fists. He made a victory sign with his hand. Everyone who had retreated 1,000 feet away stared at An Lin with nervous expressions, unwilling to even move their eyes. Thus, a scene began to unfold. An Lin had already begun to meditate. Was he preparing to trigger the tribulation lightning? He pulled out a golden ginseng from his storage ring. What was he doing? Holy F***ck, that ginseng could move. The flying sword god's expression suddenly became serious. This energy fluctuation is extremely unusual. It looks like a divine paragon fruit? Divine paragon fruit? Big Brother and has a divine paragon fruit? Why did he take out a divine paragon fruit? Just as everyone was getting more and more confused. He ate the divine paragon fruit. Everyone in the distance exclaimed in shock. The energy contained within the divine paragon fruit was extremely potent. Even a return to void stage mighty figure would most likely explode upon ingesting it, let alone an An Lin who was only of the spirit nurturing stage. Is classmate An Lin going to be alright? Su Qianyun covered her mouth as she asked with a pale expression. He should be fine. Big Brother and is invincible. Although the retarded fan Hu Guan and the others said this, a hint of concern flashed through their eyes. At this moment, Su Xiaolan heaved a sigh of relief. She felt like An Lin had to eat something before he could make his breakthrough. Otherwise, it wouldn't be perfect. Now that he had eaten something, he should be able to make his breakthrough. Just as everyone was feeling extremely concerned, a golden light suddenly appeared in An Lin's eyes. Vital energy instantly swept through the air for 5 kilometers. After a few seconds, dark clouds enshrouded the entire sky as the sound of thunder reverberated throughout the entire floating continent. Chapter 379. The entire Xiuxian United University was alarmed by the sudden change in weather. A scholarly middle-aged man stood on a treetop and stared at the figure in the distance with a scorching gaze. Sword Immortal Mingyuan, you still have classes to attend at this time, don't you? A tall and slender woman in a yellow windbreaker and a pair of red-rimmed glasses sat on a huge ancient book with a smile on her face. I've switched to self-study. Sword Immortal Mingyuan replied without any sense of guilt. He paused momentarily before continuing, even if the principal forbids spectators, I won't disturb An Lin if I sneak a peek. This is an opportunity for me to attain enlightenment, I have to seize it. At this moment, countless students and teachers on the floating continent were looking out the window. The students were all dumbstruck, and they began to discuss spiritedly among themselves. My God, the sky was so clear just a moment ago, why are there dark clouds all of a sudden? Is there going to be a storm? Are you stupid? This is the floating academy of the celestial court. How could there be such thick dark clouds in the sky? Could it be that some terrifying enemy has arrived and is causing such a commotion? Bullsh *t. Which idiot dares to come to the celestial court and flex? They must be tired of living. Could it be that someone is transcending a tribulation? Only tribulation transcendence would cause such a phenomenon? My God, could it be Lu Qianhuan? At times like this, the teachers would explain with a straight face that this was just an immortal spell invented by Vice Principal Yu Hua, and they would tell the students not to make a fuss and to pay attention to the lesson. Of course, this excluded the dozen or so classes that had been switched to self-study. Almost all of the students that had been switched to self-study classes exploded, and they almost skipped class en masse to rush out of the classroom. Almost all of the students were discussing spiritedly about what this phenomenon represented. When they sensed the terrifying energy surging through the clouds, most of them guessed that it had something to do with tribulation transcendence. Thus, many of them looked through the immortal rankings board and discovered that only Lu Qianhuan and Enlin had the highest chance of transcending tribulation. As for why they included Enlin, who was only of the spirit-nurturing final stage, this was due to the mysterious confidence that had been gradually built up in the school. They had never imagined that this kind of baseless speculation would be so close to the truth. On the full moon mountain, the teachers quietly came to the forest, consciously concealing their auras for fear of disturbing the young man at the top of the mountain. "Teacher Tsangqing, aren't you on a business trip with the Immortal Magic Department's division head Zhu?" A female teacher asked curiously as she looked at the white-haired old man. Dioscorea Cancongensis stroked his beard with a smile. "He, after learning that my student is about to step into the deity transformation stage, I naturally had to come back to take a look. I taught Enlin from Zeroth stage Dao body all the way to soul formation stage. It really wasn't easy." The corner of the female teacher's mouth twitched. There was nothing wrong with Songqing's words, but why did it sound so awkward? At this moment, Enlin's entire focus was on the sky, completely ignoring everything that was happening around him. He could feel that a certain shackle in his body had been broken. The beast core within his body was extremely dazzling, and the golden light filled his entire sea of vital energy. He knew that this was a sign that the beast core was about to melt. When a spirit beast reached the deity transformation stage, the beast core within its body would melt, and the core would split into two. The core would become a liquid that would fuse into the meridians, consolidating the meridians and using the meridians to extract vital energy from the beast core. The other would become an ethereal aura of divinity, which would fuse with the consciousness, making the consciousness glow with vitality, as if it had a second life. From this point onward, the consciousness would undergo a fundamental change. Divine sense, divine intent techniques, and other techniques that were related to the consciousness could also be used flexibly. At the same time, one's domain and consciousness could fuse together, completely consolidating and transforming into a true soul formation stage domain. Of course, all of this had to be carried out during the tribulation lightning. Rumble, the dull rumble of thunder finally sounded. Enlin looked up at the sky. There was a flash of light there, as if it was about to tear through the thick clouds. The flashing lightning covered an area of over 1,000 meters, and an extremely terrifying might was accumulating in the sky, causing his heart to palpitate involuntarily. Vice Principal Yuhua was sitting in an ancient pavilion, sipping tea. He looked up at the dark clouds and thunder in the distance, and an expression of amazement appeared on his face. 5 kilometers of clouds, 3 kilometers of lightning. This tribulation lightning of the deity transformation stage is way too terrifying. As expected of the number 1 prodigy of the celestial court. After meditating, Enlin's essence, energy, and spirit were already at their peak condition under the extreme circulation of the beast core. He stood up, holding the evil-slaying sword in his hand, and waited for the tribulation lightning to arrive. Above his head, a vast expanse of divine lightning had already surged. The lightning contained within the lightning made even the hearts of the teachers present tremble. Boom! A bolt of golden lightning tore through the clouds, and with a soundless might, it exploded in the sky. Vice Principal Yuhua spat out the tea in his mouth upon seeing this. All of the teachers watching from afar also drew a sharp intake of breath, and their eyes widened to the size of walnuts. What was going on? Golden lightning? Lu Qianhuan rubbed her eyes with an expression of disbelief. "I think I'm colorblind." "Wait, no, I might be colorblind. What color was that bolt of lightning just then?" "Golden lightning. It's the tribulation lightning for progressing to the return to void stage, golden void lightning." Su Xiaolan stared at the young man in the distance, and she clenched her fists so tightly that her nails dug deep into her palms. This is most likely an accident caused by the abnormal weather. The tribulation lightning won't be golden void lightning. It'll definitely be a normal blue divine lightning, Xian Yuan Qing consoled. Boom! Another earth-shattering explosion rang out. A golden bolt of lightning slithered through the clouds like a water snake, and the space in its wake trembled as the dark clouds were annihilated. Immediately afterward, bolts of golden lightning appeared within the dark clouds in a radius of 5 kilometers. It was as if they had a life of their own as they slithered toward the sky above Enlin. Xian Yuan Qing. Zhong Yongyan stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before him, and he even forgot to wave his fan. Impressive. Is Big Brother and really going to progress to the return to void stage? No, he won't be able to withstand the bombardment of golden void lightning at his current level. Su Xiaolan bit down on her lower lip and was about to set off. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in front of her. From the moment he begins his tribulation transcendence, this is classmate An's fate. We can't disturb him. Sword Immortal Ling Xiao spoke in an indifferent voice, and there was an unquestionable conviction in his voice. Just as countless people were stunned by the appearance of the golden void lightning, Enlin stared at the golden lightning with a confused expression. Wait, isn't divine lightning blue when progressing to the soul formation stage? Why is it golden now? What kind of lightning is golden? Is it an evolved version or a weaker version? He was a little confused. Even though Enlin didn't know what kind of lightning it was, he could sense that it was no less powerful than any of the bolts of lightning he had encountered before. Even the purple golden lightning unleashed by the Soul Formation final stage Horned Dragon was no match for the golden lightning in the sky. The Flying Sword God continued to pull everyone away from the full moon mountain for over 1,000 feet in order to avoid being struck by the power of the lightning. Right at this moment, the golden lightning had already started to converge into a ball. Any single bolt of golden lightning in the sky had the power to annihilate a soul formation stage cultivator, and there were already several hundred of these bolts of golden lightning. A thought suddenly occurred to all of the spectating teachers. If all of these bolts of golden lightning fell at the same time, would the entire full moon mountain be obliterated? Chapter 380. The golden lightning intertwined like a net before slowly converging to form a ball of enormous energy that threatened to collapse the entire sky. F*CK. This really is soul formation stage lightning tribulation. That's way too bad *SS. Enlin was initially brimming with confidence, but he couldn't help but feel a little diffident at the sight of the lightning that threatened to destroy the entire sky. He had initially planned to use his trump card only when he was on the brink of collapse from being struck by lightning during his tribulation transcendence. But now, he felt like it was best to use his trump card first. Come on out, chaotic alloy brick. Enlin let loose a heroic roar as his storage ring flashed. And then there was nothing else. Nanny? Enlin's heart sank and he summoned the chaotic alloy brick again, but he still couldn't summon it, as if it had been sealed by some kind of power. Enlin. He looked up into the sky to find that the golden lightning was beginning to squirm and fuse. Why couldn't he summon the black brick with the most powerful defensive ability? Could it be that the heavens wanted to kill him, Enlin, Sword Immortal? Right at this moment, something even more astonishing happened. The golden void lightning in the sky slowly converged to form a golden kirin of over 100 feet in size. The Qilin rolled about in the dark clouds, and every breath it took was like the angry roar of the gods above the 9 heavens. The sharp claws of lightning slashed through the air, bringing with it a series of hissing sounds. Faint cracks appeared in the void like glass that had suffered a heavy blow. No matter how stupid Enlin was, he could tell that this lightning tribulation was no ordinary lightning tribulation. He turned toward his friends in the distance to discover that Flying Sword God's expression was extremely grave. Su Xiaolan's eyes were red, and all of his diehard fans who were extremely confident in him had pale expressions on their faces. Things appeared to be even more serious than he had imagined. All of the teachers on the full moon mountain were also a little dumbstruck. Can anyone tell me what kind of tribulation unveil is transcending? Not only did a soul formation stage cultivator attract golden void lightning, but this King golden void lightning can manifest and nurture a spirit. The heavens can't tolerate him anymore. Did classmate unveil destroy the world in his past life? I think we should retreat a little more. 10 miles of dark clouds rolled and the world became dark. However, the golden void lightning Kiran that had emerged from within the dark clouds brought a golden hue to heaven and earth. The lightning that carried the power of heaven and earth could make people unable to resist, and the dazzling light made people want to submit. At the foot of the full moon mountain, many figures appeared again. They were the students who couldn't help but skip class and secretly came to investigate. What was worth mentioning was that when they saw the lightning Qilin in the sky that looked down upon all living beings, they no longer had any thoughts of continuing forward. Unveil's breathing quickened. Just by raising his head to face the Qilin, his entire body was trembling uncontrollably. He couldn't imagine what it would be like when the thunder Qilin fell. Right at this moment, the Kiran materialized from the golden void lightning suddenly arched its body and turned its head toward Unveil, preparing to pounce. The lightning tribulation was about to descend. Countless students and teachers forgot to breathe. Their hearts were in their throat. Unveil gritted his teeth. He definitely couldn't back down at a time like this. Even if the heavens were to use hacks against him, he had to face them head-on. So what if I'm using hacks during the lightning tribulation? It's not like I haven't seen hacks before. He encouraged himself as he spoke. Right at that instant, a thought suddenly occurred to him, and a thought suddenly welled up in his mind. Hacks? Would that work? But this was a lightning tribulation, so it couldn't be that insane. The golden void lightning Kiran fell, as if it were a divine punishment descending from the heavens. Golden light instantly filled the entire heaven and earth, becoming the only color in the world. An earth-shattering boom reverberated through the air for close to 5 kilometers. In that instant, everyone felt a sharp pain in their eyes, and they felt as if their eardrums were about to explode. That golden lightning is so terrifying. How is classmate Unveil? Holy *CK, it's so bright, I'm going to go blind. Most of the students had their eyes blinded by the golden lightning. He's fine, he'll be fine after a while. The golden void lightning only takes an instant to strike, so you can open your eyes now. A knowledgeable student recognized this type of lightning and offered words of consolation. All of the students opened their eyes, only to be greeted by a boundless golden light. Holy *CK, it's so bright, I'm going to go blind. All of the students yelled as they closed their eyes again with tears streaming down their faces. Who said the golden void lightning only takes an instant to fall? Hurry up and come out, I promise I won't beat you to death. No, there's something wrong with this lightning. That's right, after the sound of the lightning appeared, it became eerily silent. Are we deaf? At this moment, many of the teachers with high cultivation bases opened their eyes to stare at the source of the golden light with dumbstruck expressions. Even Vice Principal Yuhua's eyes widened as if he had seen a ghost. The golden void lightning Kiran had already reached Unveil with a sinister expression on its face, but it was imbued with paramount might. However, Unveil's finger was pointed directly at the golden void lightning Kiran. Both of them froze on the spot, as if they were frozen in time. The golden light emanating from the golden void lightning Kiran lit up the entire space, creating a peculiar image with dark clouds as the background and golden lightning as the main theme. Unveil was dumbstruck. He didn't think that his lightning manipulation technique would be able to manipulate tribulation lightning as well. Ha 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 ha! Unveil suddenly chortled with glee. Tribulation lightning, come and strike me. Aren't you a badass? If you dare to use hacks to transform into a Kiran, then I'll use hacks to control a Kiran. His voice reverberated throughout heaven and earth, bringing everyone back to their senses. They were then struck by an even more incredulous feeling. Unlin was going to use tribulation lightning to refine his body, fuse his core, and focus his mind, so he had to make this Kirin descend. However, for this process, he could naturally choose a gentler method. Come slowly. Unlin crooked a finger that was flashing with lightning, and the mighty golden void lightning Kirin slowly descended toward Unlin like an obedient little beast. It stopped a foot away from Unlin. Unlin swallowed involuntarily as he sensed the boundless power imbued within the Kirin before him. He slowly extended his right hand toward the golden void lightning Kirin before making contact. Boom! Terrifying lightning instantly surged into Unlin's body. This surge of energy surged through his meridians, flesh and blood, as well as the beast core above his sea of vital energy. The beast core circulated to its maximum extent, and under the catalysis of the golden void lightning, the golden color of the beast core became even purer. It exuded boundless light and heat, as if it were a sun. At this moment, Unlin suddenly let loose a wail of anguish. "Ow, it hurts! Be gentle!" The golden void lightning Kirin obediently shifted its butt toward the sky as he howled in pain. Don't go too far. Just stay close and don't be so violent. Hey! That's it. That's right, that's it. Gasp. That feels good. The students had just gotten used to the brightness of the golden void lightning with great difficulty before they were blinded by the scenes unfolding before their eyes. All of the teachers were also filled with incredulity. They felt like they couldn't understand this world anymore. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan's breathing accelerated, and his eyes were filled with a scorching light as his body trembled. This is the scene, this is the smell, ha ha ha. Classmate Unlin really knows how to surprise me. Do you know why the tribulation lightning looks like this? Do you know why Unlin is able to make the tribulation lightning look like this? Earth Immortal Ming Yuan asked the beautiful woman in black silk beside him. Earth Immortal Yu Ying came to her senses upon hearing this sudden question. Why? She asked curiously. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan danced with excitement. Ha ha! This is all fate. This is all fate. Do you understand? Madagascar. All of Unlin's friends finally heaved a collective sigh of relief upon seeing this. Even though it was quite inconceivable, but it looked like Unlin was no longer in danger. Thus, right before everyone's eyes, the golden void lightning Kirin, which was imbued with the might of heaven and earth and the terrifying tribulation lightning, was so obedient that it was touching. It didn't make any noise, and it did whatever Unlin told it to do and cooperated with him to the best of its ability. Chapter 381. That's too strong. Slow down, let me cool down. This is just right. It feels so good. Unlin extended his hand and continued to absorb the power of the tribulation lightning. The golden void lightning Kirin's body had already become a lot thinner. The beast core in his body slowly liquefied and flowed into his meridians, strengthening his meridians. His consciousness began to expand as he communicated with the spirit of heaven and earth. All of this proved that Unlin was slowly transcending his tribulation. That's right, very slowly. It would hurt if it was too fast. The onlookers looked at this strange scene that they had never seen before. Even now, they were still in a daze. A young man in a red robe stood at the summit of the mountain and placed his right hand into the mouth of the golden void lightning Kirin, as if he were an intimate envoy to the divine lightning. They would never be able to forget this miraculous scene. Dark clouds surged within a radius of 5 kilometers, and golden lightning flashed in all directions. Meanwhile, this man named Unlin was in the middle of controlling the golden void lightning tribulation. Third brother, what do you think, Woof? Dabai asked in a daze. I think Big Brother and is super badass. What do you think, Big Boss Hong? Xiao Chao's bulb-like eyes shone with awe and admiration. Master is getting more and more hardcore, awe. Xiao Hong said in her sweet voice. Xiao Chou. Dabai. the homeroom teacher, flying sword god, heaved a sigh of relief as an expression of amazement appeared on his face. I don't understand this student anymore. He's just transcending a tribulation lightning. There were already over 1,000 students gathered at the foot of the full moon mountain. Through their telescopic immortal techniques, they already knew that the person transcending the tribulation was Enlin. Hence, their excitement was predictable, and they almost rushed to the summit of the full moon mountain. The golden void lightning Kiran's body had already shrunk by half, and Enlin's aura had also transcended a certain threshold. The golden void lightning flowed from his palm and continued to refine his body. His sea of vital energy had already been enshrouded by a golden light, and he had no idea what was going on inside. All he knew was that the beast core hadn't completely melted yet. Enlin's body had initially been struck by the power of the golden void lightning, and he felt as if his body were about to be torn apart. But as time passed, he became stronger and stronger, and as his endurance grew stronger, the pain became weaker and weaker. "Come on, more ferocious, did you not eat?" He continued to yell at the golden void lightning Kiran. 15 minutes later, the golden void lightning Kiran finally disappeared from heaven and earth. Enlin raised his head and looked at the gradually dispersing dark clouds in the sky, feeling a little unsatisfied. All of this was too surreal, too bizarre. Even now, he still couldn't believe that he had successfully overcome the heavenly tribulation. The soul formation stage lightning tribulation ended just like that? I'm already at the soul formation stage? He looked at his hands and sensed his body. His strength had indeed increased by leaps and bounds. Haha, big brother, and has broken through to the soul formation stage. Woof. Seeing the dark clouds begin to dissipate, Dabai shouted excitedly. Xianyuan Cheng and the others happily flew toward Enlin, intending to congratulate him. A smile appeared on Enlin's face as he began to inspect his sea of vital energy. However, in the instant that he did so, he was greeted by the sight of a boundless golden light. Immediately afterward, he felt as if his consciousness was being sucked away, and his blood churned violently. He suddenly knelt to the ground in exhaustion, and there seemed to be something in his stomach. Everyone was given a fright upon seeing this. "Enlin, what's wrong?" Su Xiaolan let loose a cry of surprise and immediately ran over to support Enlin before using an immortal spell to inspect his body. His vital energy was normal, but his vital energy was in disarray, and the reason was unknown. The flying sword god also placed a finger on Enlin's glabella. However, after a few seconds, a perplexed expression appeared on his face, and he clearly wasn't able to find anything either. Right at this moment, Enlin gripped his stomach in agony and yelled, it hurts so much. What the hell is in my stomach?" "In your stomach? There's nothing in your stomach." The flying sword god furrowed his brows in bewilderment. Everyone was extremely worried. Looking at Enlin in so much pain, it felt 10 times more painful than when he was transcending the tribulation. Su Xiaolan didn't know what to do. She could only pat Enlin's back lightly with her fair, jade-like hands. However, after a few pats, it actually worked. Enlin's body suddenly bent over, and his head fell toward the ground. Wretch! Plop! A shiny golden object was spat out by him. Wah 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 wah! Clear cries began to ring out. Everyone drew a sharp intake of breath as they looked at the object on the ground. Su Xiaolan's beautiful eyes widened, and her mind buzzed. Ha ha! Congratulations to Enlin for successfully transcending the tribulation. A spatial gate opened, and Vice Principal Yuhua walked out, just in time to witness the scene of Enlin vomiting. Then, his smile froze on his face, and the corners of his mouth twitched. His emotions, which he had just managed to calm down, were instantly thrown into turmoil. Holy F***ck, what did he vomit? Wah wah! The crisp cry didn't stop. What appeared in front of everyone was a shiny golden baby with golden lightning revolving around its body. The baby was only about the size of a small bowl, and it had delicate features. Its golden eyes were blurry with tears, and its short limbs were constantly wobbling. Everyone fell into a strange silence. Only the child's cries continued to reverberate in this space. Even Lin stared at the child on the ground with a blank expression. He began to doubt this world. Who am I? Where am I? Why did I vomit? No one expected Xiao Hong to be the first to speak. Xiao Hong said in her sweet voice, "How can you not wet your shoes if you always walk by the river? Master, this is the child you gave birth to with the lightning Kirin, right?" Xiao Hong's words were like a clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's hearts. Everyone came to a sudden realization. That's right, everything made sense now. Makes sense my A**s. Lin yelled as his vision darkened, and he almost fainted. All of the teachers who were spectating from afar also flew toward the summit of the mountain to congratulate the first soul formation stage student of the university. However, they all fell silent upon seeing the scenes unfolding before them. What did we just see? Should we have come so early? As expected of someone who had been by Lin's side for many years, Su Xiaolan quickly recovered from the shock and carefully held the baby in her hand. A hint of excitement appeared in her limpid eyes, and she handed the little doll over to Lin as she spoke in a gentle voice. "Lin, seeing as this is the child of you and the golden void lightning Kirin, why don't you call him Kirin? Kirin? That's a great name. He'll definitely become a renowned figure on the entire continent like Big Brother and Kirin. His future is limitless just from the name alone. He's definitely a Kirin." Everyone chimed in and expressed their own opinions when they heard this. Even the flying sword god nodded in agreement and praised Su Xiaolan for coming up with a good name. A dainty smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face, and her bright eyes curved into crescent moons. She looked up at Lin with a smug expression. "What do you think? My naming skills are pretty good, right?" "Naming skills? And Kirin? Is he really my child?" Tears welled up in Lin's eyes as he looked at the golden baby in Su Xiaolan's hands. Chapter 382. Come, Lin, give your daddy a hug. Su Xiaolan handed the doll in her hand to Lin. Lin accepted the golden doll with trembling hands, and he was momentarily at a loss for words. The golden doll's skin was very smooth and soft, and it was tingling to the touch. This was most likely due to the golden lightning revolving around its body. The golden doll cried for a while before finally stopping, as if it was tired. It then turned to look at Lin with a pair of large, woof-woof eyes, and its face was filled with curiosity and curiosity. "Little thing, who are you? Why did you come out from my stomach?" Lin asked as he nudged the golden doll's little face. The golden doll seemed to be unable to understand Lin's words, and it suddenly yelled, "Daddy! I'm not your daddy!" Lin retorted with a serious expression. The golden baby blinked in confusion before turning to Su Xiaolan. "Mommy!" she called out in a crisp voice. A blush appeared on Su Xiaolan's face upon hearing this. Like father, like son. Hasn't Kirin been such a pervert since he was a child? Lin's eyes almost blacked out upon hearing this. Like father, like son? He didn't want to be a father. To their surprise, the onlookers were once again greeted with another wave of excitement. Su Qianyun clasped a hand over her mouth in shock. Classmate Lin clearly didn't kiss the golden void lightning Kirin, so how did he get pregnant and give birth? Isn't childbirth supposed to be done by the female? Why can a male do it too? Wait, is the golden void lightning Kirin male or female? Everyone pretended not to hear Su Qianyun's 100,000 questions. God knew how twisted this little girl's worldview had become. They didn't dare to offend Chang Yihu Guan, Yao Mingxi, and the other hardcore fans immediately knelt on the spot with excitement. As expected of Big Brother and, as expected of the number one legend in the school. He even dared to defy divine lightning and gave birth to a son. The heavens can't stop Big Brother anymore. Woof. Dabai chimed in. I heard that a ferocious man by the name of Long Outyen has appeared in the kingdom of the 9 states recently, and he claims that he's going to defy the heavens. It looks like Long Outyen is no match for classmate Enlin. After all, classmate Enlin has already transcended the heavenly tribulation and given birth to Enchilin. Tang Shimin exclaimed with amazement. People like Liu Debao and Zhao Huayin, who were deeply influenced by rationalism, were speechless. They could only stare blankly at the absurd scene before them, feeling that the world had gone mad. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan, who had rushed over from the foot of the mountain, clasped his hand over his chest, and a brilliant light burst forth from his eyes. Ha ha! Thank you for helping me attain my Tao, classmate Enlin. I'm going to go into seclusion right away, and I'll be sure to return to you once I reach the Return to Void stage. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan burst into laughter. Then, he turned to Vice Principal Yu Hua. Principal, I'd like to request a leave of absence from you. Principal, please allow me to apply for a leave of absence. Vice Principal Yu Hua took a deep breath and did his best to suppress the astonishment on his face. He waved a hand. Hurry up and go. It's the school's fortune and the heavenly court's fortune that you were able to progress to the Return to Void stage. Earth Immortal Ming Yuan bowed deeply to Enlin before departing, leaving behind a group of astonished students and teachers. What's going on? Enlin's tribulation transcendence can help teacher break through to the Return to Void stage? I feel like my heart is convulsing. I can accept that classmate Enlin's tribulation lightning transformed into golden void lightning, and I can accept the fact that the golden void lightning is under his control. But why the F***ck is he giving birth to a baby right after his tribulation transcendence? Not only that, but he can even help teacher Ming Yuan break through to the Return to Void stage? He's a celestial immortal. He's one of the most powerful beings in the celestial court. Vice Principal Yu Hua Lin Ming felt like things were going to get out of hand if things continued like this. He immediately dismissed most of the teachers and students before leading Enlin and the others to a secluded place. Only then did he begin to figure out what was going on. Enlin, Xianyuan Qing, Su Xiaolan, and the others were gathered in a small pavilion beside a lake. Vice Principal Yu Hua Lin Ming had teleported them here using a spatial spell technique. Celestial Immortal Yu Hua looked at the golden baby in Enlin's hand and tried to poke the baby's stomach with his finger. The golden baby bared its fangs and glowered at Yu Hua. The golden baby immediately opened its mouth and bit down on Yu Hua's finger upon discovering the light emanating from Yu Hua's fingertip. Crackle! An expression of shock appeared on Yu Hua's face when he felt an extremely pure burst of lightning strike his finger. Principal, what's going on with this baby? Enlin could only pin his hopes on the vice principal, and he asked nervously. Yu Hua withdrew his hand and his brows furrowed slightly. To put it more accurately, Kiran isn't a complete intelligent life form. However, he's extremely intelligent, and it's a little similar to an artifact nurturing a spirit. Since you gave birth to him, how are you going to establish a spiritual connection with him? Enlin heaved a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Thankfully, the golden baby wasn't a real child. Otherwise, he really would be dead. A grown man giving birth to a child. How terrifying would that be? He calmed himself down and tried to communicate with the golden baby with his mind, but to his surprise, there was no response. Yu Hua's expression didn't fluctuate much upon seeing that he was unable to establish a spiritual connection with Enlin. Instead, he continued, Kiran's body contains extremely pure lightning energy, and he also has a unique meridian for circulating energy. If you want to establish a spiritual connection with him, you can try to bind him with your blood. That's a good idea. Enlin's eyes lit up upon hearing this. He had been completely dumbfounded by what had just transpired, and he didn't even have time to think about the key points in this matter. Although he didn't know what this golden baby was, seeing as it had escaped from his stomach, it had to be closely connected to him. If it wasn't some kind of life form, then it had to be some kind of spiritual object. If he wanted to find clues, perhaps he could start with his blood. Unlin immediately released his blood essence and had it hover in front of the golden baby. Everyone held their breaths upon seeing this, as if they were witnessing a grand moment. And Kieran looked at the blood essence before him with curiosity. He sniffed it, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He immediately licked the blood essence clean with his tongue. "How is it? Do you feel anything?" Celestial Immortal Yu Hua asked. Unlin shook his head with confusion etched on his face. He then looked at the miniature human before him with curiosity. The miniature human smacked its lips with a blissful expression. However, its expression suddenly turned livid. Everyone was given a fright upon seeing this. Even Celestial Immortal Yu Hua's eyes widened in shock. Hua and Kieran began to sob, and his stomach rolled around on Enlin's palm. What's going on? Could it be that Enlin is resistant to classmate Enlin's blood? Xianyuan Cheng was perplexed. Why do I feel like Kieran has been poisoned? Xiaohong shook her red head as she spoke in a sweet voice. Gasp! A thought suddenly occurred to Enlin upon hearing this. His blood was lethal to a certain kind of life form. Then, could it be that this miniature human had been poisoned by his blood? As if to verify Enlin's conjecture, Kieran began to foam at the mouth. His eyes rolled over, and his stomach bulged. Bam! The sound of a balloon bursting suddenly erupted. And Kieran exploded before everyone's eyes. Chapter 383. Enlin almost fainted from fear upon seeing Kieran explode. Everyone else's hearts also jolted violently as their eyes widened in shock. Before anyone had a chance to react, the exploding golden lightning transformed into a ball of light that crashed into Enlin's body before fusing as one. Enlin shuddered as a numb sensation spread throughout his entire body. He felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. Enlin, are you all right? Everyone gathered around him with curious expressions. I'm fine. To be more accurate, I don't feel anything after my entire body went numb. Enlin waved his hand to indicate that there was no need to worry. Su Xiaolan was still a little concerned. Then Kieran has probably entered your body. Can't you sense him? Enlin thought about it for a moment and suddenly recalled that he had used his internal vision to inspect his sea of vital energy when he spat out Kieran. Thus, a certain speculation began to form in his mind. He began to inspect his sea of vital energy to see what had changed within it. The peculiar scene that followed caused him to fall into a daze. Within the vast sea of vital energy, the entire space was dyed a faint golden color. A glittering golden doll with lightning entwined all over its body was laughing heartily with one leg crossed over the other. It was lying on the sea of vital energy, moving up and down with the undulations of the sea of vital energy. It had a carefree appearance. Then, it began to swim again, creating a series of splashes in the sea of vital energy. Enlin, what's the matter? Su Xiaolan asked in a gentle voice upon seeing Enlin's peculiar expression. Enlin's lips twitched. He didn't know what to say. That golden baby is swimming in my sea of vital energy. Silence. Complete silence. Everyone stared at Enlin in silence with unblinking eyes. Yes, you heard me right. It's true. He knows backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. He's having a lot of fun, Enlin continued. Flying Sword God fell silent while Vice Principal Yu Hua slapped his forehead. Vice Principal Yu Hua was astonished. You can swim in the sea of vital energy? No, I should ask, what is this gold baby? Why can't it swim in the ocean of energy? Enlin looked at Celestial Immortal Yu Hua with a resentful expression. Principal, shouldn't you be the one answering my questions? Why are you asking me instead? Vice Principal Yu Hua, can you summon Kieran again? The Flying Sword God asked. I tried just now, but I couldn't communicate. Enlin sighed and said, I feel like Kieran might have something to do with your domain. Why don't you activate your domain first and see if you can detect Kieran's presence? The flying sword god suggested. And Lin's eyes lit up. This was a good idea. A long period of silence ensued. Classmate Lin, what is it? The flying sword god couldn't help but ask. An awkward expression appeared on Lin's face. How do I activate my domain? The flying sword god's body swayed as he stared at Lin speechlessly. Vice Principal Yuhua spoke in a meaningful voice. Domain is the embodiment of a cultivator's Tao. Classmate Lin, you only need to activate your Tao intent realm to activate your domain. Tao intent realm? That was King awkward. He wasn't even at half-step soul formation stage. How could he have Tao intent realm? A long period of silence ensued. Principal, I don't have Tao intent realm. You know that I jumped directly from spirit nurturing final stage to soul formation stage, so I really can't contain my domain. Lin confessed. You can't contain your domain? Do you have to contain your domain? The Yuhua vice principal opened his mouth, but didn't know what to say. This tribulation transcendence wasn't normal at all. It's true that Lin is at soul formation stage now, but he doesn't even have a domain. Can you believe that? After a moment of silence, the Yuhua vice principal seemed to have realized the difficulty of dealing with this issue. Forget it, let's think about this at length. Classmate Lin must be tired from today's tribulation transcendence. He should go back and get some rest. Ling Xiao, look after classmate Lin and inform me if there are any problems. Alright, Principal. Classmate Lin is our school's pet, I definitely won't let anything happen to him, the flying sword god replied with a carefree smile. Lin knew that even the Yuhua vice principal wouldn't be able to resolve this issue after hearing this. His eyes dimmed as he looked up into the sky. Even though he knew that his cultivation path was a little crooked, he really couldn't believe that it was this crooked. Am I really already at soul formation stage? Lin couldn't help but feel perplexed. He bade farewell to his friends and returned to his residence. Then, he spaced out. He looked at his sea of vital energy for a while. The golden baby was already tired from swimming and was panting heavily as he lay on the waves. He looked so adorable, adorable? Lin slapped his forehead. He didn't know how to deal with this strange thing. Xiao Chou made his way over and patted Lin's shoulder a few times in consolation. Big brother, don't take things too hard. You were already destined to walk further and further down this extraordinary path when you formed your beast core anyway. So what if you don't have a domain? Big brother, you were able to beat the crap out of those soul formation stage mighty figures who had domains when you were only at spirit nurturing stage. Now that you've broken through to soul formation stage, you've become even more powerful. Even without a domain, I'm sure no soul formation stage mighty figure will be able to defeat you. It had to be said that Xiao Chao's words were very effective. Having a domain was indeed cool and flashy, but to a practical person, the most important things were the ability to advance and the combat prowess one could unleash in the face of danger. Lin looked at Xiao Chou and nodded. You're right. The path is paved by one's own efforts. I've been a badass for so long, I'm sure I'll be able to walk further and further down the path of badass. So what if I'm a weirdo? All that matters is that I can succeed. I won't give up because of this. Even if there's no path ahead of me, I'll forge a new one. He regained his composure and reignited his fighting spirit. He began to look at his system. Lin decided to see what kind of conditions were required for him to progress to the next rank. He clicked on the Cultivation Base tab to find that the contents there had already changed. Soul Formation Intermediate Stage, Condition, Increase Kieran's weight to 1 kilogram. Lin, what's going on? Even the system has admitted that the golden baby's name is Kieran? Lin clasped a hand over his chest. He wanted to vomit blood. I really am a weirdo. Other soul formation stage cultivators are all cultivating their true intent and observing laws. What about me? Am I supposed to raise a F asterisk king baby? Raising a baby is one thing, but who the F asterisk CK can tell me how to raise this golden baby? I don't have any breast milk. Even if I do have breast milk, I won't drink it. And Lin fell into a long period of silence as he looked at this system mission. After a while, he couldn't help but look at his sea of vital energy again to look at Kiran. The golden baby seemed to have rested enough. He stood on top of his chi sea and spread his legs. A golden liquid flowed out from his crotch and turned into a stream of water that fell into his chi sea, creating a splashing sound. And Lin,